Hello, Steele Watchers. It is my favorite time of the year, season, whatever you want to call it. Eric's least favorite. It is time for us to get ready to record our top 5 episodes of the season.
Can I do do-it-yourself brain surgery instead? I mean, I think that would be probably more enjoyable.
No, you can't. But we also need our wonderful listeners' help. So for those of you who want to submit your top 5s and participate in our episode, have your emails read on the episode, please send us those emails to our email, which is what, Eric?
SteeleWatching@yahoo.com.
Yep. So send them there by the first week of May or so. Yeah, that's why I asked you.
If you don't know, if I was wrong, if it bounces back to you, just go to the website. It's there.
Yeah. So yeah, send us those emails by the first week of May so that we can have them all compiled and ready to go, and Eric can make a spreadsheet or whatever it is he does, and we will read them.
I've got a paper shredder right over here.
And debate and discuss, and really, and Eric will probably have some booze, so it'll be a good time.
Got to get through it somehow.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Steele Watching, which is a podcast for Remington Steele fans. My name is Sara, and the hands of time have never dimmed my loveliness.
Okay.
No, it's from the episode. Come on.
Well, I'll let you claim it this time.
Thanks.
I'm Eric, and I'm sorry, I do not know how people can drink those drinks that have the floaty things in them.
The boba tea?
Whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, if I get something in my mouth that isn't liquid when I'm taking a drink of liquid, you better not be standing in front of me.
That's really random.
No, actually, I've been fighting a cold for the last couple of weeks, and I'm still not entirely over it, as you might be able to hear from my voice. Yeah. And also the gunkiness in the throat. I took a swig of some Dayquil-like stuff, it was house brand, and there was floaties in it, and it's like all over.
Oh, that's gross. Okay.
And I looked at the bottom of the bottle, and it had to have been some sort of component that was crystallized in the bottom, but there were a bunch of floaties. No, I'm sorry, I can't.
No.
I can't handle floaties in my drinks. I'll just say that.
I'm not even good with pulp in my orange juice, so
I'm not a big fan of that either. Yeah. But yeah.
Alrighty. Well, and on that note, I wanted to kind of, before we get into this week's episode, just circle back to what we were talking about with the last episode, because you were the one that searched up we went in Suburban Steele when we were talking about the punch buggy, and I posited the theory that might have been who dropped Laura off in Steele spawning. You seem to have located the answers for that. So
well, kind of. I went back to spawning and looked at it, and I compared the station wagon in that one to the station wagon we have in, what was it? That was the one we did last time.
Suburban Steele.
Suburban Steele, that is. Yeah. Thank you. And it is the same make and model and the same color and same wood grain siding. It appears to be the same model year. I could not read license plates enough to compare. Of course, studio vehicles, they could have switched the plates, but by all indications, it appears to be the same vehicle. Now, the woman inside driving it in Steele spawning kind of maybe could have been Frances. It's hard to tell because we didn't have a really good shot of that person driving it. Obviously, it wouldn't have been the actress for just a 5-second shot, but
not even a cameo because you can't see her face. So
right, but I mean, they could have gotten somebody to drive it that kind of vaguely resembled Frances for that purpose.
Yeah, well, because we know that they prepare scripts ahead. So if they knew that they were going to have Francis in the next episode that was upcoming, then, and they needed Laura to get there somehow.
Right.
So yeah, it was an interesting way to figure that out, because I was like, well, who's dropping her off in a punch buggy? Like, where did this person come from? And then I'm going to keep saying punch buggy because I know it bugs Eric.
Yeah, I know. And I'm about ready to punch the screen here.
But then we see the station wagon in Suburban Steele, and it kind of like, oh, maybe she got a ride from Francis. That's kind of interesting, just because we don't usually get that kind of continuity.
Yeah.
And that's fun.
Francis wasn't working. She didn't have the kids. Exactly. They were at school.
Yeah.
So it could have been. She could have been available.
And speaking of continuity, this episode, we're going to be talking about season 4, episode 14, Santa Claus is Coming to Steele. So this one is a direct continuation. Well, not direct, but like it features a bad guy from it. We don't get this very often. I think the only other time we've really gotten this was with Elegy and Steel Framed with the Major. And in this case, we've got Anthony Delgatti, or Dancer, returning to try to dissuade people from testifying at his trial. So
yes,
this one first aired on February 18th, 1986, and it was written by Michael Gleason and directed by Seymour Robbie. Seymour! But what's worth noting, if I remember correctly, Dancer, Prancer, Donner, and Steele had a writer that we didn't recognize, but also Michael Gleason's name was on the script. And I theorized that this was a new writer that probably had Gleason punch it up. And this is worth keeping in mind because I noticed something that I had never noticed before. And when we get there, I'll point it out, because I was like, oh, this makes so much more sense, because it was something I'd always wondered about. And it was something that didn't make it into the Dancer, Prancer, Donner, and Steele script or into the finished episode, but is referenced here. And I'm like, oh, well, this makes sense. If Michael Gleason was connected to both scripts, then yeah. So I'll point it out when we get there, but I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
This is Don Gordon's final appearance. We've seen him before as Nash, as well as Dancer in Dancer, Prancer, Donner, and Steele, and then this one. So yeah, we've got recurring actors, which is cool. Any other thoughts before I go into the synopsis?
No, that's...
Okay, wasn't sure if there was anything else we needed to talk about before we
not that
jump
I can
into
think
this
of.
one. Okay, so the TV guide synopsis. That's what I went with. One of the fake Santas who held the sleuths and their party-goers hostage on Christmas Eve is out on bail and eager to persuade, and that's in quotes, witnesses not to testify. So
now, I do take exception to the original production synopsis and the DVD liner notes, because both of those use the term killer Santa. And he didn't actually kill anybody, at least not in the episode. He fragged his lieutenant. We find out he fragged his lieutenant, but he didn't actually kill anybody in the episode as Santa. So,
well, the TV guide synopsis just says fake Santas who held them hostage. It doesn't actually say killer Santa, so it must just be the DVD liner notes. But yeah, I agree. He's not.
And the production synopsis, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So that's partly why I went with that, but also because I liked the persuade in air quotes. Well, not air quotes, but quotes.
Sarcasm quotes.
Sarcasm quotes. Yeah.
Yes. Now, I do want to make a cast note here. Michael Horton, who plays brain fart. What's his name? Not Wally.
Wally. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew him from Murder, She Wrote, because in that he played Grady Fletcher.
Oh, okay.
Not Angela Fletcher.
Jessica Fletcher.
Jessica Fletcher's nephew.
Yeah.
Man.
That guy pops up everywhere, because I was watching 21 Jump Street, the detective series with Johnny Depp in it, and he played a teacher in that show. He was in one of the episodes, and it was funny because it was just recently that I rewatched the episode, and I was like, oh, it's Creepy Wally. Like, he pops up. There are so many movies I find myself watching or shows, and Wally jump scare, because there he is.
Well, so, I don't think he's ever had a lead character role continuing in a series, but he does make himself quite apparent in the Murder, She Wrote series. I looked at it, and I think I didn't note it, but I think they said he only appeared like 14 times, or not even maybe that many. But
wow,
he was, I mean, he's a character that even though he never appeared with huge regularity, you remember him.
Yeah. Well, he's got that kind of face too. He's one of those actors where he's one of those hey it's that guy actors, where you see them and you're like, hey, it's that guy. I've seen that guy before, and you might not immediately know their name, but you know their face, and you know, you have to go to IMDb and look up all their credits to find what was the first thing you saw them in that made you, you know, he's that guy. He's that guy. Yeah. But he's good. He's very good, and he's especially good in this episode because he does. Anyway, we'll get
playing the befuddled type character.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we open on this shot, the skyline shot of LA, and then we transition to the outside of the office. Inside, I like this dress Mildred's wearing. We don't often talk about Mildred's wardrobe. They mainly have her in these long dresses. They don't often have her in pants, I've noticed. In fact, I can't even think of a time I've seen her in pants. She's usually in these sort of long, I don't want to call them muumuus, but they're usually not the most shapely, which is fine. She's not required to wear anything shapely, but this color really looks nice on her with the polka dots. So yeah, I like what she's wearing. She looks good. And she's sort of happily working, walking towards her desk. She's singing "Who Can Ask for Anything More?" And I like that they've sort of established this kind of like cozy moment for Mildred in the office, because then when Delgetty walks in, it really gives that sharp shift that we can see, that sort of like, this is one of the few episodes that actually the blood is real. And I don't mean literally, we don't see a lot of blood, but like it kind of gives us consequences that we don't usually see. Usually it's like, oh, they find the murderer confesses, and then the murderer goes away and we never hear from them again. Right. But in this case, they survive something truly terrifying, and he walks right into their office. Like, we hear this voice asking for Remington Steele. She turns, she sees him standing there. She smiles. And at first she doesn't recognize him. She says he's not in yet. He asks about Laura Holt. And then something in his voice, you can see the look. And Doris Roberts is just, she's so funny, but she's also really, really good at dramatic. Like her dramatic turn in this episode is fantastic. Because like you can just see the fear on her face as she realizes all in 1 second she's alone. She knows that voice. And it's scary. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, she goes from happy-go-lucky, cordial, to cautious, to suspicious, to why don't we have a security alert panic button in this office anywhere?
Yeah.
And really, why don't they have a panic button in the office? As many times as they've had problems, they should have something.
They had to have the windows redone ever since, what's his face tried to jump out. They could put a panic button in there too. But in all seriousness, there's a quick flashback here. And I'm convinced the flashback is only for the audience, because I don't think it's actually needed in terms of the story. The look on Doris Roberts' face.
It illustrates that Mildred, in her mind, she's seen and making the connection.
Yeah, but I think she does that on her own without it. I just think that it's here because some people may not have seen that previous episode or might not remember it, because, of course, this was at a time where if you missed an episode and you didn't have a VCR,
too bad, so sad.
That could record it, you missed the episode. So I think it's literally there for exposition purposes. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It's fine. It certainly, like you said, is a visual shorthand for the audience that, oh yeah, she's made the connection. She knows who this guy is. I just think her acting is enough to sell it without it. Like if they didn't have to do that, they could have gotten away with it, because she's just, you can see the look on her face, and she's thinking, the flashback shows us she's thinking of Dancer threatening to use her for target practice. Same guy though, well, this time of course no Santa suit, and this actor is perfect because he just has these cold,
menacing,
creepy looking eyes, like he's scary.
He does menacing well.
He really does, right? And she just looks very scared. She tells him in a shaking voice that she's not here either, and that again, you can hear it in her voice when she says this. She's realizing she's alone and she's unprotected.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
no panic button.
Once again, they don't know where the agency gun is. Probably so. Yeah. So she asks who wants to see them, and he gives her this cold grin and says, "The spirit of Christmas past." She just chills, right? She goes over the phone as he walks out, and she watches terrified as he goes, and then she grabs it. She dials the number, and she speaks to a Lieutenant Benjamin. And again, I wish... maybe I don't wish that they brought Jarvis in on this, because Benjamin is so completely unlikable that it would probably destroy Jarvis for me. But she calls. And
plus Jarvis's homicide. This technically isn't a homicide case.
That's true.
So
yeah. So she asked to speak to Lieutenant Benjamin. And every time I see the word lieutenant, I want to say lieutenant, because that's what we say in Canada. So I'm gonna if I make that mistake.
You add letters in there that aren't there.
Excuse me?
There is no F.
We're taking our spellings from the actual the English language, the source, okay?
There is no F in lieutenant.
Anyway, she tells him, it's Mildred Krebs calling from Remington Steele Investigations, and then says the nut who held them hostage on Christmas Eve just strolled into their office. She pauses, and then she looks even more terrified as she's told he's out on bail. Another pause, and she tells the lieutenant, no, he didn't threaten her. Another pause. You can hear the anger creep into her voice as she says, yeah, you do that. You look into it. If there is another time, I hope I'm alive to call you. And she hangs up. Now, I don't know much about the justice system in the U.S., but would somebody like this be allowed on I know sometimes they deny bail based on if they're a flight risk or if they're particularly a violent offender or something like that. Wouldn't he, and I know that he does have conditions placed on his bail because he violates them, but what are the odds that somebody like this would be granted bail? I don't actually know. I don't know.
I'm not an attorney, but I play one on TV.
Fair enough. Okay.
I don't know.
Because he apparently has a history of violence, not just with this, but with the lieutenant and other witnesses going missing and not testifying. You would think that that alone would be enough to deny bail.
You would think, but
or put a little. Did they have ankle monitors at the time?
I don't know if they did or not. I don't think so. But not to bring modern politics into it, but these days. You can get away with, literally get away with murder and get released on bail with minimal or no bail in some cases. In the 1980s, it was probably a little more stringent, but, you had these really great defense attorneys that could give you a bag of horse dung and tell you that it was the most amazing thing in the world. And you would have judges that would buy it. And, so, stuff like that's always happened. It's just, I don't think it was the kind of thing where I would have let this person go, given his documented history. Of course, the other thing is, how much of that documented history could the prosecuting attorney bring to the judge in arguing against bail? There's a lot of conditions on what kind of past history could be brought out in these types of things. And so I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. I realize we wouldn't have an episode if they didn't let him out on bail. Mm-hmm. So it just feels. And then when she says, no, he didn't threaten me, it's I thought to myself, well, theoretically, he would not be allowed to contact any of the witnesses, period, whether he threatened them or not. Thought. So I would think this would be a parole violation or bail violation or whatever you want to call it. This theoretically should have jerked him back behind the bars anyway.
You would have thought.
But here we are. Anyway, she hangs up and we see the elevator doors open in the hallway. Steele gets off as Dancer gets on. They bump into one another and he smiles at Steele in a way that kind of makes him pause, but he's not really sure why. And so he's kind of still thinking about it when he walks into the office. And Mildred tells him that Dancer, the Looney Tune who held them hostage on Christmas Eve, was just there. That's where Steele makes the connection. And he also has a flashback to Dancer pointing his gun at him, and when they were in the standoff, and he said to Steele, "Go ahead, pretty boy, take your best shot." So he's kind of lost in his thoughts long enough that Mildred has to bring him back to earth.
Yep.
He apologizes and says the man has made an indelible impression on him. Mildred agrees, saying, "You don't see me laughing." And both of them are taking this very, very seriously. Steele asks what he wanted. She tells him that he asked for him and then Miss Holt, and then he left. So Steele obviously is worried. He says to Mildred to alert Miss Holt straight away. In her loft, we see her practicing ballet. Now, we haven't seen her do this before, but it tracks. We know she's a runner. We know she is athletic. She's got the right body type for it. I like the outfit.
Okay, I'm going to say a couple things about that since you brought it up before I did. First of all, just in the context of the scene, dumb. You don't dress like that when you got a handyman in your house working on it. I'm sorry. You use a little bit of discretion here.
To be fair, she might have already been in that outfit when he showed up. Like, she might not have known he was coming that morning.
You could still put something on. But the other thing is that, I'm sorry, those kinds of outfits don't look great on somebody with her body type. I know there's a lot of people out there that's going to disagree with me and say, "Oh, it looks fantastic," and whatever.
I like it.
I don't think it looks good. I do not think it looks good. It shows off her figure, her body curves, such as they are, but I don't think it does it in a good way. I think it heightens the fact that she is very petite, and it just does, I don't think it does her any favors. But that's just me.
See,
what do I know?
I like it. I like the color. When I was a kid, I wanted those outfits, the like gymnastics outfits with the slouchy socks and the whatever else, because like that was cool. So maybe that's just my 6-year-old self going, I wanted that outfit. But I do think that it's important actually to have her in that outfit practicing ballet while Wally is there, because it establishes that she feels safe with Wally around. That she doesn't see him as a threat, and therefore we shouldn't see him as a threat either, because she's comfortable with him there. She's just doing her thing. He's fixing her faucet. Narratively, I think it has a purpose. I do agree that I probably wouldn't answer my door and let my building manager in while I'm wearing spandex, but that's just me.
Some people do. Some people don't see a problem with it, but
it's not like it's not an outfit that's. I mean, I realize it's skin tight, but it's not. I don't know. I don't think it's sexualized. I think it's a workout outfit for her. So
well, I'll say that's in the eye of the beholder, and there's a lot of beholders that would behold that as being highly sexualized.
Fair enough.
In a bad way.
Fair
like
enough.
Wally
All
does.
Right.
Eventually.
Well, I mean, Wally. I mean, I don't. He could have been wearing a burlap sack. To be fair, Wally's not playing with a full deck. He has a 3. He's not all there.
He's playing with Uno cards.
Yeah, exactly. He thinks he's playing poker, but he's got an Uno deck. That's where Wally's at. So I don't think he counts, frankly. But so she's and I think it's like that bar that goes along her wall. Obviously, was not there intentionally to be for ballet practice, but it works because that's how you practice certain ballet moves, using that little bar thingy. I don't know much about ballet, but I know that. So we hear a male voice in the background say, "Damn it." And this also answers the question of why isn't she at the office before Steele, because most of the time she's there first and he wanders in whenever he pleases, but obviously she stayed home because there was something that she needed fixed.
Yeah, her hair. She needs to fix her hair. I'm sorry. I should have said this before. That hair doesn't do anything for her. But okay, I'm done.
Side ponytails were also cool, sir.
I've never been a fan of cool.
Everything that she's like, it's all trendy per the time. I'm not saying for or against it, but it's all trendy for the time.
Yeah.
Either way, that's why she's not at work. She's obviously there because she had a sink malfunction.
Right.
So we hear a male voice say, "Damn it," and then apologize. Laura tells the man, who we know as Wally, that it's all right. She's familiar with the expression and the feeling. He tells her the wrench slipped. She asks how it's going, and he says that if he can get the coupling on, they ought to be in business. So he hopes it's not inconveniencing her too much. She says no, she appreciates it. The last building manager never wanted to do anything. And we met that building manager, did we not, in Lofty Steele? Or did we just get the tenants?
That was just the tenants. But when... No, we did. Because he was the guy with all the robots. And
that's right.
When she went to find out who owned the building, she went to the management company and, we've heard about you. You're a troublemaker.
She's the troublemaker. That's right. So
all I asked for was a plunger.
Yeah. So this is a bit of a callback to the fact that she's asked for help before and not received it. So I think this is partly maybe why she's so grateful for Wally. He's happy to come in and do that. And to be fair, I mean, I don't know about like landlord laws, and it might probably vary by state to state, place to place, whatever. But here, at least in Ontario, the landlord is responsible, the building manager, whoever is responsible for any repairs that need to be done.
Right.
Like something breaks, they need to fix it. If it's like, obviously not, here. Obviously not if something like your computer breaks, but if your stove or your sink or whatever, they're legally required.
Yes.
So if that other building manager was terrible in many ways, but he was not doing his job if he wasn't fixing the sink when the sink needed to be fixed. So
yes.
So Wally says he enjoys it and he likes working with his hands, adding that his last situation was a real brain drain. Think. He adds that if he hadn't left, he would have gone nuts.
Well, we find out later that that wouldn't have been a trip. That you were already there. And
it's interesting to see these little narrative hints at where what happened to him, because so just then the phone rings. She goes over and answers it and hears Mildred's still nervous voice telling her that Mr. Steele wanted to call her. She adds that Dancer just paid them a visit. At first, Laura says who, and this, I mean, again, in real life, I don't think she would have had to say who, but narratively, we need the exposition. So Mildred has that chance to give the audience for anyone who didn't see the episode, the guy who, the guy who threatened to blow up the building unless he was paid $200. Laura Voigt.
$200?
$200. Wow. $2 million. I don't know where that.
Well, it was a cheap building. It was a cheap job.
That makes me think of, I know I showed you the song, but the Bare Naked Ladies song, If I Had $1 Million. Back when that song first came out, it's, if I had $1 million, I would buy you a house. And then they sing about all the things that they would buy if they had $1 million. And in the 90s, $1 million was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think they need to update this song for inflation, because now it would be like, if I had $1 million, I'd buy you a house. Then
Song's
that's
over.
The song. That's the end of the song. There's nothing else you can buy. You're done.
well, at $200 for the extortion, that could also be something that Frugal Luther from Kim Possible would do. He held the world internet hostage and demanded everybody mail him $1.
Or, and I know you haven't seen Austin Powers yet, but when Dr. Evil is unfrozen from the 60s and he attempts to hold the world hostage, initially he says $1 million, and then his henchman, he's like, sir, our corporation, our legitimate corporation makes more than that in a month. You need to upgrade it. So he's like, $1 billion, and he's like, there you go. So my bad, $2 million, not $200. Laura voices her surprise that he came into the office, and Mildred says that she knows she should be an old pro at this, but she's still shaking. Laura asks if he did anything or made any threats, but Mildred says just being on the same planet with that creep is threat enough. She adds that the boss wanted to warn her to be on her toes. Laura says she will be, and she thanks Mildred. Just as she hangs up the phone, the buzzer rings. This is not good timing for the poor guy on the door. And what's interesting is that she grabs the wrench. She doesn't even tell Wally. And I know Wally's a nut bar too, but as far as she's aware at this point, she's got a dude in the apartment that could maybe help out if needed. Maybe she doesn't want to put him at risk, but she grabs the wrench. Laura's
a gung-ho, I can do it myself. I don't need a man type. And so she's just going to take care of it herself.
to be fair, if she had opened the door and brained him, he wouldn't have had much of a chance to do much. So,
right. But I mean, she's not the kind of person that would just let somebody else take care of something that she could take care of, unless it was Steele and she were trying to get back at him for something he did. Yes.
Or
and use him as
bait.
bait. Yes.
So she grabs Wally's wrench. He protests, but she shushes him and walks over to the door. She rolls it open, lifts the wrench, and the poor delivery man on the other end crouches in fear, saying, "Don't hit me, I'm bonded." Now, I'm not entirely sure what that means. Is that like insurance?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of professions in the U.S. that require that the person be bonded as kind of a security, insurance security, so that if something happens, somebody can lay claim and they get paid for whatever. But yeah.
Laura, realizing she's made a mistake, asks him to forgive her, saying she thought he was the plumber. That poor plumber. She adds that she's been waiting for him all week, and it got so bad she had to try to fix the faucet herself. This guy, he's a little jumpy because he's like, "Ma'am, I have been bitten by dogs, attacked by monkeys, and mugged by little old ladies, but you're the first person to try to take out my lights because of a leaky faucet." She assures him it wasn't intentional and takes a step towards him, but he flinches back in fear.
Yeah.
He's great. He's only in this episode for like 2 minutes, but he's really quite funny.
Yeah.
He hands her a pad of paper, asks if she's Laura Holt. When she tells him yes, he asks her to sign there, so she does. Hands her a package in exchange for the pad. He tries to leave, but she says, "Just a minute." He asks what for, and she says, "The tip." He shakes his head and says, "That's okay. I live simply."
Can I make note of something here in this scene?
Sure.
On the wall behind him, across from Laura's door, I've never seen these before. I don't know if we've had a shot quite like this that we would have seen them. But on the back are these framed Players Cigarettes cards sets.
Oh. I didn't even notice.
And I saw those, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. So I did a little research on them, and cigarette trading cards, like bubblegum cards, only in cigarette packs. They were collectible cards that were included in cigarette packs from the late 19th to the early 20th centuries. As a marketing tool, they were issued in sets, with the earliest known set from being around the 1880s. Featured a wide range of subjects, including sports figures, actresses, military leaders, and landscapes. Cards were so popular they became a hobby for many people who collected them and traded them with others, kind of like baseball cards. In the 1930s, albums were produced for collectors to store and display their sets. The John Player Company, as we see in these displays here, is most closely associated with the advertising medium because of and theirs began with a picturesque historical series entitled Castles and Abbeys.
Huh.
The initial motivation perhaps being that the firm was originally named the Castle Tobacco Company, and the cards which various British tobacco companies produced tended to emphasize both popular sports such as cricket and aspects of the empire such as military regiments and kings and queens. John Player's initial set of 25 characters from the Dickens books in 1910 proved so popular that it added another 25 cards into that series around 1912, which was the centenary of the author's birth. After the First World War, the theme remained sufficiently popular that they reissued the set of 50 again, retaining the series order with the Artful Dodger as card number 1.
Huh.
Eventually, they issued over 200 different sets of cards, usually in runs of 25 or 50. And then beginning in the 30s, they included things such as technological and transportation objects, cars, civil aircraft, and such. Cards were discontinued in the 40s. And the sets in the episode actually represent some of the various card displays, which I found online that you can get. And it seems like the price for those sets in a frame like that are somewhere between 200, 500, or between 20 and 50. I got your lips today. From between $20 to $500. Although I did find a listing for an 1897 50-card set of actresses listed at over $1,700.
That's crazy.
So there's money in them there cards.
I guess.
Just like in baseball cards. So.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to, I realized I had forgotten to mention this as well, because I really liked this script description of Wally. And we were already talking about the actor. So I'm just going to go back a little bit and just read how he's described when he kind of pops up from behind the sink. He's described as a fresh-faced young man in his late 20s with the kind of acceptably short hair that makes the older folk cluck with approval. So I just thought that was cute. But also it adds to that deceptiveness of Wally, because he does feel very disarming and sweet and sort of harmless and kind of goofy, but like not the kind of person you'd immediately be on your guard around. So they really cast him well. Anyway, she closes the door. She's got the package. This poor guy has beat, like he just started running. I live simply, and then he's gone. She closes the door.
Probably gone to go change his pants in his underwear. But anyway.
Yeah. And hands Wally back the wrench, who asks if she always answers the door like that. She smiles and says only on Tuesdays. She sits down and opens the package, finding a nice gold watch inside. Wally looks impressed, and she reads the card that went with it. It says, "May the hands of time never dim your loveliness." She reads it out loud, smiling with pleasure. Wally says, bit corny, but Laura smiles and says she kind of likes it. He asks if it's her boyfriend, and she tells him it's a secret admirer. Wally says that's some admiration. She asks him how the sink is, obviously trying to redirect his attention. He says it's all finished. She says good, telling him she has to get dressed. He lingers a bit, asking, do you really like it? The hands of time, etc.? And she stands up and pushes him back, telling him to have a nice day. So this is showing that she kind of has some boundaries where Wally's concerned. Like, she doesn't want to get too far into the weeds with her personal life, but she also feels comfortable enough with him not to be
totally secret about it. Yeah.
Exactly. So she walks him to the door, telling him she'll call if she has any problems and that she appreciates everything he did. She says goodbye and shuts the door to the loft. She then stands against the door and stares at the watch. In the office, Mildred brings Steele some papers and tells him it's as much as she could find on that hair bag. She's got some wonderfully choice words for Anthony throughout this episode.
Oh, yes.
Steele, he asks her where she gets all these expressions, and she says television, I guess. Steele says, I thought you only watched PBS. So, guess there's some interesting programming on PBS. I thought it was just like Mr. Rogers, but... She tells him that his name is Anthony Delgetti. Steele looks at the folder and reads that he served in the armed forces, but he never made it past corporal, and there's no mention of the Silver Star that he claimed to get. Mildred tells Steele that he spent most of his time in the stockade, and he was even accused of fragging his own lieutenant, which he already said. He admitted to that in the episode. She adds that he blew him to pieces, and get this, another dog face who saw the whole thing suddenly couldn't remember who threw the grenade. So that's right there, his kind of MO. She says since then he's been in and out of prison, mostly for aggravated assault and commission of a felony. Steele observes that he seems to be following an established pattern. The chief witness mysteriously reneges, and the little corporal slithers out from underneath a murder charge. Steele wonders if he thinks Delgetti is trying to keep them from testifying. Steele points out that he goes to trial in a week, and they were all witnesses to kidnapping, extortion, assault with a deadly weapon. He might spend the next 20 years making license plates. However, and this is the big however, if he can frighten the professionals like Miss Holton himself. Steele.
Want some water, Mildred?
Yeah. She asks him what he was saying, and he goes back to saying the professionals like Miss Holton himself. She coughs again. Something stuck in her throat. And, oh, come on. You don't think she... And good for Mildred, because in the past, I don't think she would have said anything.
No.
I think she would have taken it at face value that Miss Holt and Mr. Steele are the professionals, and she does what she does, but she's not on par with.
But
with
but that would have been before she had gone out and was actually working cases. Which, I mean, now she's been active in a number of investigations.
Yeah.
And so I mean, she's not doing the same types of things that Steele and Laura are doing, but she is still a professional in the sense that she is an active participant in these investigations, just in the same way that Murphy was. getting autopsy reports.
I just mean that she's sticking up for herself in a way that I don't know that she would have, even without like that aspect of it. Right? She would have just kind of. So she says, "Don't you consider me a professional as well?" And then Steele kind of insincerely kind of just says, "Oh, yeah, of course, sorry, an oversight." Kisses her. "Here you go, darling." Kisses her cheek. Mildred then says, "Okay, so you think he's trying to frighten us professionals from testifying?" Steele agrees, saying that if he succeeds, the other witnesses might just fall in line. Mildred is outraged, exclaiming, "And he walks away clean?" Steele tells her, considering the alternative, it's worth the risk. She asks how they stopped the slime ball, pointing out that Alistair Cook says that a lot.
I don't think he does, but anyway.
Steele tells Mildred to call the other witnesses and try not to scare them, but warn them that he might be paying them a visit. In the meantime, he picks up the phone, intending to call the authorities and see if the great Remington Steele can pull a few strings and jerk him back behind the bars. To be fair, that already should have been happening, but...
Yeah. Hey. Can I jumping back to Steele's comment to Mildred about, oh, sorry, oversight, of course you're a professional. I think he is falling victim of what I've seen in a lot of businesses where somebody gets hired at a particular position, particular level, and as they move up in the company, people's perception of them does not move up.
Yeah.
You were hired as a secretary. Okay, now you're a division manager, but you were kind of hired as a secretary, so yeah. And their pay often reflects that. So if you go into a company and you work your way up to a certain level, you're not going to get paid as well for that job as somebody that they hire as an outside hire coming in and doing that exact same job. Because, I mean, after all, you're not at the same level that this person is. Well, yeah, I am, because I'm doing the same job at the same corporate level position. Well, okay, but it's different. So I think he's fallen victim to that. So.
Yeah, we do know that she does have a raise, that she's gotten a raise since she threatened to quit. But yeah, I agree with you on that attitude. Because he probably still sees her as, and to be fair, we have seen her grow by leaps and bounds, because like if you think about Dancer, Prancer, Donner, and Steele, she's the one, she held her own when she was face to face with Dalgetty, not knowing the gun wasn't loaded. She was the one that threw the coffee in his face. She got the gun the second time. Like, she was not a shrinking wallflower. Like, she was right there with them the whole time, and she's been there with them doing all kinds of stuff in helping the agency. So she's definitely like going undercover at the radio station, and all the other stuff that she's been doing this season has kind of proven that she is working her way up to being a private investigator. So yeah, I agree. We see a scene change, and Laura's loft. I don't like her outfit. I wish I did, but and this whole episode takes place in a single day, so she never changes. She's in this episode this outfit the whole episode.
That jacket just doesn't do it.
It's the jacket, and whatever that gold thing is at the collar of her shirt. I don't know.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah, it looks. It doesn't look. I think the reason why they have her in this blouse, because they've had her in a lot in red a couple of times this season, and I don't mind it. But I think the reason they have her in this particular blouse is to, kind of like a callback, almost visual callback to Dancer, Prancer, Donner, and Steele, where she was dressed in Christmas colors then too. She had the sprig of holly in her hair, and she looked really nice. It's just this jacket. If the workout outfit was too revealing, this one is just swallowing her up.
Yeah, it looks like it's probably wool. It's heavy. It's bulky.
Yeah.
It almost looks oversized on her, like it's a size and a half too large.
It looks like she's put on her dad's suit jacket, and she, it doesn't fit her. It's too big. But she's smiling. She's admiring the watch. She walks over to the door of the loft and opens it, but steps back in shock as Dalgetty is standing there on the other side. He says, "Hello, pretty face," in that creepy, creepy way of his, and we get her flashback to Dancer on the floor with the gun, saying he would like to splatter that pretty face all over the room. And I really do like the way she handles this, because you can see, and I mean Stephanie as well when I'm saying this, because you can see the fear on Stephanie's face. Like, she looks scared, but she also looks strong. Like, she's not backing down. She's not cowering in front of him.
She's not letting her response be dictated by the fear.
Exactly. It's a very fine line to walk, and most actors wouldn't be able to pull that off. They lean too heavily one way or the other. But she has that perfect sort of balance. She's got a slight tremor in her voice, but she's calm, or she seems calm, right? She says, "What do you want?" In a leering tone, he touches her face and says, "Anything you have to offer," which she slaps his hand away. And like, that takes some brass to do that, because she's obviously, I think it was just instinct, right? Like, the hand comes towards you, you're like, no. He tells her she looks all frazzled, and in a very cold and dangerous voice tells her that what she needs is a vacation. A very long vacation, far away from there. And Laura, not losing her cool, tells him, "I can't take a vacation right now. I have to testify at your trial." Boom. Like, not even, like, just full on here. Yeah, no, you're not going to intimidate me. You're not going to scare me off. And by the way, I'm still going to testify. So
that's right.
Yeah. He says, "Do you?" She doesn't back down, responding with absolutely. He asks her if she's ever heard the expression "back from the grave." When Lord, and come on, dude, like, that is not the most original threat.
Well,
I just mean, like,
I don't think anybody's going to accuse him of being original.
I just mean, who hasn't heard the expression "back from the grave"? Right? But they, of course, when she doesn't respond, he says, "That's the only way you're going to testify." And he calls her pretty face. Creepy. So creepy.
Yep.
Yeah, we switch back to inside the office, and Steele staring at the company gun, which is sitting on his desk. I wonder how long do you think it took him to find that?
Who knows? You know, what they need to do is get one of those Apple AirTags and put on it.
Yeah, like those existed.
Well,
yeah, no, I know what you mean, though. Like a little bell or something on it.
Yeah.
You can find
a string with a little, like the little flag on the back of a kid's bike with the long pole hanging up in the air. Just, where's the gun? I don't know. Look for the flag sticking up in the. Yeah.
So this next line is interesting because these are two things that were cut from the original script that are referenced here that would be different if they weren't cut from the original script. This is the first one. Because in the original script for Dancer, Prancer, Donner, and Steele, at the end, Scabbard says he's not opening that second branch in Encino. He's closing it. He's not going to open it.
Yeah.
But they cut that bit out. So when Mildred comes in and says that she got in touch with all of the other witnesses except Dr. S. Wilson Scabbard, Steele remembers him as the podiatrist of the stars, and Mildred says he was on his way to his branch office in Encino. And Steele urges her to keep trying. So obviously, because they cut that bit from the previous episode, they were able to have that reference to the branch in Encino.
Are you sure?
Yeah, in Dancer, Prancer, Donner, and Steele, at the very end, there's a bit that was cut where he's basically saying he's not going to open the branch or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly what his words were, but he talks about not doing it.
I thought that was still in the episode. Okay.
No. That he's wheeled out on the stretcher. He doesn't say anything. It's Allison that says she's going to quit her job that they kept in there. That she's not going to sell. What is it like?
Yeah.
Hygiene products for women who don't need them or whatever it is.
Yeah. I just thought I remembered him saying that he was going to close the office in the episode, but you're right. It was probably in the script, and I'm just remembering the script.
That's the Mandela effect. Where you think you remember something because it was, no, it definitely isn't in there, because then this would make no sense. But because of that, they're able to make that comment, and that's why they can't reach him, because he's supposed to be at his branch office, or at least they think that's why they can't reach him. Obviously, we find out later that it's for a different reason. Poor Scabbard. Like, he's the one that got shot in the foot in the original episode, and now, yeah, that poor guy. So we see Laura come through the door, and she's got like sort of a frantic energy. She says, "That hairbag, that slime ball." And Steele, you watch PBS too. Laura tells him that he had the nerve, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to show up at her door and threaten her. this is where you see Steele obviously has been trying to pull strings or what have you with the police, but just the look on his face goes from not like casual, but like less concerned to furious. Like he just picks up the phone. He's mad. And he goes to call the police, but Laura tells him that she already did that. Angrily, she tells him that Dancer's story was that he was looking for a loft, saw there was one available, and had no idea she lived there.
Yeah, just
right.
Purest of coincidences.
Yeah. She concludes that the police warned him to stay away from her and the other witnesses. Wouldn't twice in the same day constitute a pattern? Like, are the LA police this inept?
I'm going to say yes, but I don't know. It may be that that's not sufficiently alarming that they're going to dedicate a lot of resources to that.
Well, he legitimately threatened to kill her, though. Like,
no, he didn't.
He said that
he
she
didn't
would
say I'm
only
going to kill you, and it's his word against hers, and all he has to do is make the argument that she's just trying to create trouble for him. All he was doing was coming to see an empty loft, and she saw him, and this is her way of trying to keep him out of the building.
Even if that were true about the loft, going into Remington Steele Investigations was not an accident. He knows what that place is.
Yeah, but again, like I said, a good lawyer it's all coincidence. It's just people are making a bigger deal out of it than it really is, and so it shouldn't be held against him just because other people can't handle a situation. Don't blame him. Don't punish him for it. I
realize you're playing the part of the inept constabulary. It's making me mad just hearing it because it's like, no, we know
I
this.
know. I get the same way, but I mean,
freaking psycho.
But that's the legal system. It's hardly a judicial system anymore because judicial has to do with adjudicating and justice, and it's definitely not a justice system. It's just a legal system. It's that's how you play the rules to your advantage.
Yeah, Steele kind of points that out because Mildred is incensed. She's like, that's it? And Steele reminds her that the foundation of American jurisprudence is that a man is innocent until proven guilty.
Presumed innocent until proven guilty, yes.
And then Mildred tells him that Dirty Harry is starting to look better and better. She says she's going to give the doctor another call and she leaves. Steele sits down and says, quite a morning, eh? And Laura makes a big show of looking at her watch and comments that it isn't even half over yet. Steele notices and asks her, new watch? She says yes, and adds that it was very expensive. I wonder how I guess if it's a specific brand, that's how she would know that. Steele tells her that she's entitled to splurge on herself every now and then, and after all, she's worth it.
Also, the price tag may have still been on it.
True.
I can't tell you how many times I've gotten gifts from somebody, and they've left the price tag on it.
You know, I don't know. I'm one of those people that doesn't care if I've had people, like my mom, for example, will give me something and I'll open it. And she'll be like, oh no, I left the price tag on it. She'll be all upset. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if you spent $20 or $200. Like, I don't care if I will care if it's way too expensive for like something that doesn't need to be expensive. Like I might be like, you didn't have to spend this much money. But overall, I'm not going to look at something and be like, oh, you only spent $20? But guess you don't love me.
But what happens is, there are people who leave them on by accident, and it's a genuine mistake. But then there's other people who leave it on because they want you to see how much they've spent on you.
Yeah,
they want you to be impressed.
Yeah, that reminds me. That's like that again. You haven't seen it, but Die Hard. There's a scene where when John first shows up at the office party before the terrorists show up and take everybody hostage, his wife, who he's kind of estranged from, is showing him around the office and runs into a coworker who clearly is hot for her and says, show him the watch. And her husband looks a little confused and he's like, just a little gift from those of us at the office to, for the great job she's doing. It's a Rolex. And he's like waiting for him to be impressed by that. So yeah, that's I get what you're saying. That's what I thought of. But in this case, Steele's like, yeah, you're entitled to splurge on yourself every now and then. After all, you're worth it. Her face falls because it's obvious she thought he was responsible and that he would fess up but he hasn't. Laura laughs and asks him, "What makes you think I bought this for myself?" He says nothing. He just assumed. She walks over to him, casually commenting that, as she remembers, he was on his way to buy a Christmas present for her when Dancer and his group showed up. Steele has completely forgotten this, but Laura hasn't, and this is the part that I'm talking about, okay? Because there's another bit in the script that was cut out of the original aired episode, okay? If you recall, in the episode, what was aired, we just saw Mildred chiding him about how he hadn't done his Christmas shopping, and then he basically said he was going to leave and left and went and told the plant lady he couldn't stay long. But in the script, he actually calls Saks department store and asks them to put on hold a gold watch with little diamonds around the face. So that's what he was going to pick up. However, prior to reading the script, I didn't know this.
He kind of got detained at the time.
But I didn't know this when I first saw the episode. So this next exchange kind of confused me because she says you were, like I said, she says you were on your way to buy a Christmas present when Dancer and his group showed up. And he pretends to have forgotten about this. Or maybe he did forget about this. She asks him what he was planning to buy Steele. And he says, it's a dim memory now, but it was a watch of sorts. And without knowing that that was originally in the script, I had always taken this to mean that he was basically like sort of trying to take secondary credit for this gift that she's gotten from the secret admirer, like, or just that he couldn't think of a present off the top of his head because he didn't know what he was going to go buy her. So he was just like, yeah, it was a watch, right? Because that was the first thing that popped into his head. That was how I had always read that part of the exchange. But now, like, having read that bit of the script that was cut, that's actually what he was planning to buy her. So it's kind of funny. She's frustrated and she says, a watch? And he goes into the bathroom and she can hear him saying that Saks had a really nice collection. And like I said, initially I thought he was making it up. But literally that bit with diamonds on the face, and that's what Wally seems to have gotten her, because she asked him if it was in any style in particular, and then he tells her gold band with tiny little diamonds. She goes in and shows him the watch saying, like this? And he says, yes. And she tells him it arrived this morning with a note that said, may the hands of time never dim your loveliness. So this is obviously why she's partly this, and partly, of course, that in a previous episode he had done this whole secret admirer bit before. You really can't blame Laura for jumping to this conclusion.
Well, except that, first of all, as she mentions here in just a moment, the notes that reference Steele are not very flattering. And that's not the kind of thing that I would think that Steele would have included if he was doing this himself. He probably wouldn't have mentioned himself at all in any context. So the fact that he is mentioned and they're not flattering references should have been a clue to Laura that it probably wasn't him. Also, as Steele points out later to Mildred, Laura should know that he doesn't reuse his tricks on her, especially when you consider that the first time it blew up so spectacularly. You know, if something failed the first time, don't try it again.
Okay, I'll give you that. But the first bit I actually disagree on, because I think even he recognizes it's something he would do, because when he explains it to Mildred later on, he says, because Mildred mentions the not nice things that the notes say, and she's like, well, why would she assume you'd write that about yourself? And he's like, well, no doubt so that she could jump to my defense, or, you know, whatever. Like it's Laura that says that. But I don't know. I just think that's very much a Steele thing. I think he would do that personally. I could see, like, maybe Laura not cluing into the fact that you're right. He doesn't usually repeat the same, I don't know, con, whatever you want to call it, twice. But at the same time, I don't think that there's no other guys on the horizon that she's aware of. And given the fact that this is a guy that invented an entire case just to get her to San Francisco, I think she's just sort of assuming that nothing is off the table where he's concerned.
Well, I mean, you know, again, I mean, he's done other things, but he's never repeated himself.
Yeah. I just think that for Laura, there's so much of the relationship that has been game playing and him sort of indirectly trying to tell her how he feels without actually just coming out and saying it, that she's not even thinking about that. She's just thinking, oh, here he goes again with another one of his games. I do think, though, that they've gotten far enough into the season without him pulling some sort of nonsense like that, that should have given her pause, maybe, because there's been a lot of parts of this season where they've had genuine, like, intimate moments that were not sexually charged, but that were like really getting to know one another. The scene in Premium when they're in the hotel room, the scene outside of the courtroom or the courthouse in Forge Steele, literally the scene in Dancer, Prancer, Donner and Steele where he asks her that incident with the gun, it didn't lower your estimation of me, did it? Like, there's been a lot of really good moments between them in this season so far where they've let their guard down and let their walls down and been vulnerable with each other. So I could see that being the thing that would make Laura go, is this another game? But I don't know. There's just been a lot of game playing on his part. So I think that's just where her mind's going to, because I don't know about you, but just secret admirers, that's childish, isn't it? Like, just in general, isn't that something that you would do in grade school and like not as an adult?
No comment.
Why did you do it as an adult? Ouch, sorry.
No.
Okay.
No,
I just mean,
not as an adult.
Like, it's I think it's perfectly appropriate if you're younger, because younger people are still learning how to directly tell somebody how they feel and like all that stuff. I can see that being something that you would do in high school or grade school or what have you, but I don't know. It just feels like they're in their 30s at this point. If I were Laura, I wouldn't assume that an actual, aside from it being Steele doing his little games, I would not assume an actual grown-ass man was sending me presents from a secret admirer. Now, granted,
okay, that's true. That's true.
We've established that Wally's a few flowers short of a bouquet, but
Wally can't even find the vase for the flowers.
Yeah, it just feels like a grown man wouldn't do that without a gimmick. So anyway,
all right, whatever.
So she's kind of confronting him about this. She says, he says it's a bit corny, and she says it was signed from your secret admirer. Steele walks out of the bathroom, says, haven't we done this before? And Laura crosses her arms and says, yes, it started with flowers, a different bouquet every week, and candy, the kind that costs $25 a pound. Steele humors her, but clearly has no idea what she's getting at. Well, he knows what she's getting at, but
right.
He's not the one doing it. He tells her she's lucky she has a sweet tooth, and she tells him that a few of his notes even mentioned him, and not in a very flattering light. She adds that some hinted that she had to make a choice, them or Steele. And again, like, if this is real, but, and I know Wally's not all there, but who would honestly think that you could demand an ultimatum when you haven't even shown the person who you are? Like, you could be, you could be extremely old, you could be way too young, you could be anybody, frankly, and it just, I don't know. Anyway, Wally, you could be a serial killer. So yeah, she says, them or Steele. She sits down on his desk and he fixes his tie, and he laughs and says, dear me, where do they come from? And deadly serious, Laura says, where does who come from? Should it be whom? Or, I don't know. Doesn't matter.
I don't know. I'm not an English major.
Steele tells her that those poor demented souls out there, ouch, that's kind of an insult towards Laura, is it not? That the only people that are going to send her flowers and gifts are poor demented.
Well, he could be referring to the secret admirer bit. He could be referring to the idea that he is something less than acceptable.
After
all, he's like, Remington Steele. How?
Well, I just mean anybody who is going to do like I don't know, a campaign of gifts like that without revealing who they are.
And that's what he sees. I think that's what he's talking about is where are these nutballs coming from that think they can, woo a woman, get her to drop a relationship that she's kind of got with somebody else for them, and they don't even, they haven't even revealed who they are.
Well, I mean, he obviously thinks it's her, but so that's kind of it's both a dig and like, yeah, if there really was a person, which there is. First dancer, now her closet Casanova. She leans forward asking, any idea who it might be? And Steele says, probably someone who cares deeply for her and possibly even loves her, but can't bring himself to express those feelings directly. So he knows he isn't the secret admirer. But since he thinks that she is this him attempting to covertly tell her how he feels? Like, because he's not legitimately guessing at a secret identity. He thinks she's the secret admirer.
It could just be that he knows it's not him, and obviously he thinks that it's Laura doing it to herself, and it could just be that he's kind of teasing her and playing into her charade and saying, well, anybody who would do this is obviously this kind of a person, and they're a nutball, and maybe they've got feelings, but they just can't express them, and he's just kind of tweaking her nose a little bit with it. Plus, maybe he's suggesting that is her. She is the one who can't express how she feels about him, and so she's using the charade to kind of present it as. Except she's been pretty clear about how she feels with him. It's him that's been kind of withholding on that bit, well, right? Like he's definitely not meaning to portray himself through this, though. I think he's just trying to tweak her a little bit. Now that you said that, I think it might be a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. I think you're right. He is teasing her. He's tweaking her because he knows that she's trying to provoke a response from him, a specific response, and he believes that she's behind the gifts and the card or whatever. So I do think he's teasing, but I think also this is in line with who he is as a person. Like he has real difficulty with verbalizing his feelings. This is an easy way for him to say these things with plausible deniability. Right? Yeah, he can actually say those things and have it be both him teasing her and also, I actually feel these things, but I'm not going to say it. Yeah. So it's Laura says that she wishes he would stop beating around the bush, and there's some serious flirting going here because she leans forward and. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just when you said that, it just. Right down into the gutter. Here we go. That's right. I'm sorry. Laura lays down on the desk and looks right into his eyes, and she says, when? And Steele says, when the time is right, no doubt. So again, I think this is the subtext becoming text, because even though he's teasing her, I think this is also his way of like hinting that at some point this is gonna be a conversation they have. Laura tells him he better watch out. She might just get tired of waiting. Steele grins and says, his loss, my gain. Laura says, don't be so sure. She might just get tired of waiting for everyone. She gets up and she walks toward the door, and this is where he, like, I don't know, has a death wish. About the watch. She turns around and smiles, clearly expecting a confession. And instead, what time is it? And you just see the smile drop. Her whole face just kind of goes angry, and then she just leaves. She is not impressed. But he sits back looking pretty pleased with himself, so yeah. In the main office, she storms over to Mildred and tells her that he ought to be drawn and quartered, tarred and feathered, diced and sliced. Mildred says, hanging is too good for Dancer, and Laura says, not Dancer, him, points at Steele's office. And I just wanted to say a little bit about both drawing and quartering and tarring and feathering, because they're fun medieval torture methods, and I enjoy medieval torture methods. So, I mean, I have a history degree, I should preface this, and I enjoyed learning about things like this. I don't know, just because it's kind of gruesome. History majors are weird people, okay? Like, we have some macabre. When you were studying this, did they have demonstrations? No, but I took a course on witchcraft, like the Salem witch trials, and the textbook, no word of a lie, was bright yellow, and it was called Servants of Satan.
Like that was on big, bold letters on the front of the textbook. I'm carrying this around as I go to class. This book called Servants of Satan. And I was like, okay, this is awkward. But it was legitimately on like the whole witch trials and, you know, the hysteria that occurred. So anyway, yeah, we're a little weird. But drawing and quartering is part of a grisly penalty that was ordained in England around 1283 for the crime of treason. The full punishment for a traitor could include several steps. First, he was drawn, that is, tied to a horse and dragged to the gallows. A so-called hurdle or sledge is sometimes mentioned in this context, although such advice may have been a means of mercy, since it was more likely to deliver a live body. It was more likely a way to deliver a live body to the hangman. The remainder of the punishment might include hanging, usually not to the death, because you can hang somebody without killing them. Mm-hmm. If it's done properly, you just break the neck, leave them in a lot of pain, but they're not actually dead. It's fun. And then usually live disemboweling, burning of the entrails, beheading, and then quartering, which was literally just drawing a line, tying each of the 4 limbs to a different horse, and spurring them in different directions. So literally like 4 horses, 4 limbs. You get the idea.
Fun and games in medieval times.
Yeah, the above-mentioned source cites an incident in 1238, which a man who attempted to assassinate the king was drawn, hanged, beheaded, and quartered. So the first
they wanted to make sure he was dead.
Yeah, pretty much. But then they take once they've had the limbs all ripped off, they usually put them in different places to kind of remind people this is what will happen. And this is actually one of the most infamous cases of this was William Wallace, the freedom fighter, Scottish freedom fighter who died in 1305. So according to the same early source, Wallace was drawn for treason, hanged for robbery and homicide, disemboweled for sacrilege, beheaded as an outlaw, and quartered for divers depredations. In 1803, Edward Marcus Despard and his 6 accomplices were drawn, hanged, and quartered. So this is a common thing. But when they drew and quartered William Wallace, they took his head and they stuck it on a pike and they put it so people could see it, basically, as a means of reminding people this is what happens to traitors. So fun times. Laura apparently wishing this on Mr. Steele. I showed my daughter Braveheart, the movie, which historically is not accurate in any way, shape, or form. It's complete fiction in terms of
Ken Burns documentary.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I took a course on William Wallace, and the first thing the professor said was yeah, if you've seen the movie, prepare to be disappointed because none of that happened. But the film was more based on a poem that was written by a poet named Blind Harry about 800 years after the fact, and it was sort of
if he was blind, how did he write it?
I don't know. It was written a bit as propaganda to the current king at the time. Okay. So it was his life was embellished and that's what they based the film on. The only part they did get right was how he died. And I forgot to mention to my daughter, because usually I'll tell her ahead of time, this person dies or whatever. And we get to the end where he's on the slab and they don't actually show him being drawn and quartered. They just show his face, right? And he screams and whatnot. And you see his friends watching, right? And she leans over to me and she says, well, they're going to rescue him any minute, right? And I'm like, no, actually, this is not a Robin Hood film. This is not, the look on her face was pretty funny. So, so that's drawing
the way
and quartering.
We torture our kids.
Tarring and feathering sounds a little milder. However, it can also be quite painful because tarring and feathering, tarring and feathering is closely associated with the vigilante justice of the American Revolution. So it actually originated in the 12th century, but it was practiced throughout various points in history. And it's mostly known for, I think it was 1774, a crowd of angry Bostonians gathered around John Malcolm, a 50-year-old customs agent and loyalist to the British Crown. They stripped him, poured hot tar and feathers over him, and paraded him through the town, forcing him to drink tea until he vomited. So that's one of the most infamous moments of someone being tarred and feathered in the days leading up to the American Revolution, but it was hardly unique. More than 70 loyalists suffered a similar fate. Loyalists, by the way, are also Canadians.
And your point?
I'm just saying. That said, the history of tarring and feathering, like I said, is hundreds of years old. Even though it's most closely associated with that, it goes way back. To the 12th century, Richard the Lionheart made the first documented reference to tar and feathering in an 1189 proclamation about how to punish marauders discovered at sea. He declared, "He shall first be shaved, then boiling pitch shall be poured upon his head, and a cushion of feathers shook over it, so that he may be publicly known as the first land where the ships put in, he shall be cast on shore." So, yeah, it makes a bunch of sporadic appearances in historical record. A group of drunken friars and nuns were tarred and feathered in 1623. In 1696, an angry mob in London tarred and feathered a bailiff as he attempted to arrest a debtor. So, yeah, fun times. So, yeah, she wants him to be tarred and feathered and drawn and quartered.
So the next time you're throwing a party and you need ideas for party games, we have the answer for you.
Well, yeah, apparently. And Mildred saying that hanging is too good for Dancer. I guess Mildred's not aware that hanging is part of the drawing and the quartering, but
or she was just meaning that just the hanging is not.
Yeah, just the hanging. That's right. Yeah, we got to do the whole bit. Laura says, "Not Dancer, him," and she points at Steele's office, and Mildred stands up shocked that she means the boss. And it's interesting that she's gone back to calling him the boss, because she never calls Laura the boss.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
yeah, I think maybe just habit.
Protocol.
Yeah, Laura shoves the watch in Mildred's face and asks if she sees it. Mildred's like, "I have trouble up so close." And Laura interrupts and reminds her that he did this once before. He sent flowers every day for weeks on end, buckets and bushels with smutty little love poems signed "Your Secret Admirer." And Mildred, it's funny because Laura's on this little rant. I completely forgotten that Mildred is even standing in the room, because Mildred's like, "Yeah, I was there, remember?" Again.
Well, I'm not sure that she had forgotten that Mildred was in the room as much as she just forgot that Mildred was in the room when it happened.
Well, yeah. And again, this is, and I'm not pointing this out as a way of saying like this is bad writing. I think this is fantastic writing in the sense that, again, it's referencing a prior episode, but in such a way that it doesn't feel like the exposition is being given specifically for the audience.
Right.
But it is. Like, that's the point of this bit, is for Laura to remind anybody who missed that episode what happened in that episode. But Mildred comically saying, "Yeah, I was there, remember?" is kind of how it avoids feeling like unnecessary exposition. Yeah. It just looks more like Laura on an angry rant, right? She says, "I was there, remember?" And then she continues ranting, saying he did it so he could become jealous of his competition and fight for me and realize what I meant to him. And Mildred, again, futilely tries to remind her she was there. And Laura continues saying that he hoped that I would be so grateful I would fall into his arms, not to mention his bed. Perfect way for that. And Mildred supplies the word dirtbag. And Laura just like snaps her fingers and like points as if to say, yep, you got it.
That's it.
To have his cake and eat it too. Is this the phrasing we want to be using, Laura? Just putting it out there.
I don't know. She never. I won't go there.
Well, Mildred apparently is on board with this, because she closes her eyes, sits down in her chair, and tells her it sounds delicious. I guess Mildred is maybe Mildred should have gone out with bumpers a few times. I think maybe she is experiencing some withdrawals here. Laura isn't paying attention. She reminds her that the last time he tried this, he charged everything to the agency. She decides to beat him at his own game and asks Mildred to cut off his credit everywhere and report his cards stolen. Wouldn't it make more sense to just look into whether or not anything has been charged to the agency?
Well, she didn't say cut off his agency cards. She wants everything that he has cut off, even his own personal accounts.
Can she do
wants
that?
Everything.
I would think that.
Well, I mean, if Mildred is the secretary, she would probably have the required information to do that. Whether she could get away with it or not is up for argument.
Ethics?
But that's like so many businesses, retail businesses, customer service. And it's like, I do not think you know what that means.
No, yeah.
It's a slogan. It's a slogan. they don't really know what it means. And I think ethics is probably just a slogan for the agency. They don't really know what that means.
Don't get me started on credit cards and banks, because at the moment I am in a fight with my bank and Amazon, and I am not impressed with either one of them. In December, my Visa stopped working on Amazon, not on anything else. I could use it everywhere else except Amazon. And it's a bank Visa. It's through my bank. So initially I thought this was an issue with Amazon. It kept saying, anytime I tried to purchase anything, it kept saying that my card was expired. My card doesn't expire.
I have the same problem with a certain card on Amazon.
Okay, so this is okay. Let me finish.
It's happened to other places too, but
I know. I found it on Reddit. This is a thing. It's been going on since 2024, and it kept telling me, and I kept like re-adding the card. It didn't work. So I tried getting in touch with Amazon customer service, which is basically like,
impossible, because they don't have customer service. You're not entitled to customer service when you order online. Do you know that? I actually had an Amazon person, a customer service manager, tell me that you're not entitled to customer service when you buy stuff online.
They're awful, because I got in touch with them and they were basically like, it's your bank. So I'm like, okay, at first I didn't think it could be the bank, because why would it only work, or why would it only not work in one retailer, right? So I'm like, fine, I'll call the bank just to say I've covered all my bases. They actually, this is in December, right before Christmas, they actually admitted it was a known glitch. And I'm like, cool, okay, so they're opening a case file, they're going to fix it, wait 5 business days. Well, Christmas happened and I just didn't have a chance to. I just put my other card on my Amazon account and said I'll deal with this in the new year. So January I called them and they were like, oh, there was a note on your file for us to call you. Did someone call you? And I said, no, nobody called me. They were supposed to call me and tell me to remove the card for 5 days and put it back on and see what happens. So I'm like, fine, I'll do that. So I removed the card, put it back on, and it looked like it was working. I would make purchases and I'd look down, and to be fair, I was doing this on my phone, so I probably wasn't seeing the whole thing, but I would look down and it would say Visa and the last 4 digits of the card. So I thought, okay, cool. I went to check my statement yesterday or the day before, something like that, and noticed that none of the Amazon purchases were on my Visa. They were all on my MasterCard.
Because they rolled onto the other card.
Yes.
That's
so
yep.
I took off the MasterCard, tried to make a purchase with the Visa, and lo and behold, it didn't work. So I call the Visa people back, and they're like, well, we can send you another card, which would mean I would have to, like, any subscriptions that come off that card, change it all. So I'm like, if that's going to be the case, I'm just going to cancel it, because I had found, as you said, I went online and found Reddit thread upon Reddit thread of people with this exact same problem going back to 2024 with this bank. And everybody in the thread saying, I just gave up. They sent me a new card.
Well, I've had a problem with a particular card from one particular bank. I've had it with Amazon, and I had it with one of our local utility companies. My theory is that it is a computer issue, but it's in the communication between the computer for the vendor, the Amazon or the utility company, and the bank. Somehow, as the information is getting transmitted from one to the other, one of them is either mangling it or it's being sent in a different format than the other one expects. And so it's reading the information incorrectly or processing it incorrectly. And that is, it's an incompatibility between a couple of computer systems. Because, I've had the same problem.
Yeah, well, the bank has blamed it on Amazon. Amazon's blaming it on the bank, and I'm ready to just cancel them both and say, like, I'm done. Like,
what's interesting is that when I had the problem with the utility company, when I tried to do it online, it failed with that same message expired.
Yeah.
But when I called them and had them put it into their computer using the same card, it went through fine.
And weirdly enough, with Amazon, I have a subscription to Amazon Kids. That comes off automatically. That has not been affected.
On the same card.
Yeah, that has not been affected. It's just when I physically tried. Anyway, sorry, everyone. Gone down a rabbit hole. I will keep people updated, though, because this is 2 months ongoing, and I'm just so at the wit's end, like I'm just...
But in this case, Laura is wanting everything that he has, all the credit that he has cut off. And
that's... I mean, I think that's a bit extreme. I agree with Mildred here. That's a bit severe. Like, I would be on board with checking to see if he's charged anything to the agency, because that would answer some questions. that at least he's not using agency funds if she really thinks he's doing this to do it, but
by cutting off all of his credit everywhere, including his personal,
he's not going to be able to pay his bills.
Well, that's beside the point. Laura's not thinking about that right now. What she's thinking is, if I cut him off, he's got no credit for anything. He can't keep playing this game, because she's assuming,
oh yeah, for sure,
that it's him playing this game.
Yeah.
And so it's not just a matter of, well, he's using agency funds. It's a matter of, I'm going to shut this down, and I'm going to prove to him that I know it's him. And I know that you know that I know.
Yeah.
And
she's
you know that I know that you know that I know.
Yeah, because she says she's going to teach him graphically and irrevocably that she doesn't like game playing, which she kind of does a little bit, at least. Like this relationship would not have gone on as long as it has if there wasn't some push and pull to the games that they play with one another, especially with like Steele trying, where he's confessing that he invented this case to get her to San Francisco, and he expects her to, brain him, and instead she's like, that's the most romantic thing. There's some degree of game playing that she's a fan of. So I'm just going to push a little bit there and say,
I'm going to refrain from saying something about role playing, but anyway.
I just think that she's obviously frustrated, thinking he's gone back to the same shtick.
Yes.
And that
didn't work the first time.
Yeah, and that they've come far enough in their relationship that these tricks or what have you are not really necessary anymore. So I get why she's, frustrated. But yeah, she says he doesn't need to go through all these elaborate ruses. She leans over onto Mildred's desk and wishfully says that all she needs is a little honesty, a little verbal commitment, a gentle touch, a soft caress. And then a voice interrupts, and it's a rather large man standing in the doorway saying, "Stop it, lady, you're turning me on." This guy is a horrible cop. He's a bad cop. Like, he's rude. I don't like him. I don't like him. I just don't like him. He saunters in, and Laura stands up, telling Mildred, remind her to put a bell on that door. Why haven't they? At this point, like
one of those electronic pads, on the floor. You step on it, and it goes.
Yeah,
bing.
They have had all manner of people enter this office, and not all of them have had. Like, they've been kidnapped from this office multiple times.
Yeah,
a little bell would not be amiss. Mildred sarcastically tells the man, who she calls Lieutenant Benjamin, how nice of him to show up hours after Dancer came calling. It kind of tracks with the police, though. They're never there when you need them. Benjamin informs him that they weren't the only ones on his itinerary. He says that Dr. Scabbard was crushed under an x-ray machine and again, poor Dr. Scabbard. Guy gets shot. He gets crushed under an x-ray machine. He's in intensive care as of an hour ago. He adds that he's stable. Obviously, having heard, Steele comes out of the office and asks about Dancer. Benjamin tells him that Delgetti was staying with his sister, who took off in the middle of the night, and she hasn't heard from him since. So obviously now, finally, the cops are on board with the whole he's dangerous and needs to be back in jail. Mm-hmm. Laura asks if there's any leads on where he might be. Benjamin says not yet, but they will find the little weasel. Mildred says hopefully before he gets us, and Benjamin points to the police officers behind him and says that's what they're for. The others consented to police protection, so they're here to keep them safe. Laura tells him she appreciates the offer, but no sale. Benjamin tells him that Delgetti is a certified psycho who is trying to scare them into instant amnesia. He adds that since the others heard about Dr. Scabbard, they aren't too gung-ho in testifying. If he's that dangerous, why let him out? Sorry. But also, why do you think Laura doesn't want... Like, Steele thinks she's being stupidly macho. I don't know if I don't know if I necessarily...
Well, I think it's the same logic that Scabbard used about being shot. How's it going to look to my patients if I got a problem with my feet? How's it going to look to the clients if a detective agency has to allow the cops to protect them? It's all PR, which he references in just a couple of lines.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Laura says. I think, though, that part of this is more about, and I don't know if I would call it stupidly macho. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I think it's also about her own refusal to give in to fear. I think in her mind, if she has police protection outside the office, that she's admitting that the situation, like, they've had people come after them in the past. They had the major come after them. They've had other people threaten to kill them. They've been into dangerous situations like this. I think in her mind, if she acknowledges that this one's different somehow, and it is, then she's allowing herself to be afraid. And I think that there's a part of her that worries that if she allows herself to be afraid in this instance, that maybe in other instances that will happen and she won't be able to effectively do her job.
Well, I think it's, like I said earlier with the wrench and the delivery man, she doesn't want to let anybody else do anything if she thinks she can handle it on her own. And she doesn't want to see a situation that she can't handle on her own. No matter what situation it is, she's convinced she can take care of it.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's entirely that she has to do it all on her own, because Steele is there with her and Mildred too, and they all sort of, like, if she was convinced that she has to do it entirely on her own, she wouldn't have them all come over to her loft so that they can be together and, like...
But she's making the decisions. She is the one in charge. So in that sense, she is doing it all on her own.
I think it's less about I have to solve this on my own and more about I don't want to be scared into submission, because if one person can scare me, anyone can scare me, and if anyone can scare me, then I'm not.
Then it's all about image. Image is everything.
I think it's more about I won't be able to do my job if I'm scared every time someone comes after me. Then I can't. I might, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you crumble once, you'll crumble every time. And
okay, so again, then we're back to what I said. She thinks she can handle every situation. She doesn't need any help, and she's not going to see a situation where she can't handle it, even though she is in a situation that she can't handle on her own.
Well, I think she would accept help from, like, Steele and the rest of the, like, Mildred and things like that, but outside sources, yes. Because if outside sources have to help her, then, you know, that she's maybe not going to be able to do her job in the future. I don't think it's so much about pride as it is about fear. If she gives into fear, then she might give into fear again and again and again, and she's like...
No, I think she's mad at Dancer, and she
there's definitely...
She's going to take charge. She's going to deal with it. She's going to get her, you know, she's going to be the one to draw and quarter him, not somebody else. And no, it has absolutely nothing to do with fear at this point.
They want the police to get him. They're not saying that they need to be the one to stop him. They want the police doing their job and putting him back behind the bars. Like, she's on board with that part. She just doesn't.
But it's not fear. It's not fear. Not at this point.
Weigh in, people, because I think it's fear. Eric thinks it's not fear. This is entirely interpretation.
I think it's pride
it's
and image. Pride and image are basically just different versions of the same thing. But yeah,
email us. Let us know.
Yes, tell Sara that she is wrong.
Tell Eric that he is wrong. But yeah, so she comes around to stand in front of Lieutenant Benjamin and asks him how will it look to potential clients if one man, no matter how psychotic he is able to frighten them into hiding behind the police. Benjamin tells her that she has to be alive to have clients and urges her to forget the PR and be sensible. He looks at Steele, who reluctantly backs Laura up by saying that she is echoing a tenet that he set down when he founded the agency. And I will give credit to Steele here, because even though I don't necessarily agree with Laura's decision, this is one of the few times where he doesn't play the grandiose Mr. Steele and override her simply to just get on her nerves. I think because he knows that whatever her reasons for her decision here, overriding her is not going to make them any safer or like...
It's not going to make him any safer.
Well, I think it just in terms of, like, the three of them being on one page, like, they're all thinking as a unit in this episode. Not one of them is, like... You know what I mean? Like, they're very...
He doesn't want to tick her off.
You're right. He doesn't want to piss her off, but, like, he doesn't usually have an issue with doing that in the past, right? He tends to poke the bear when he thinks that it's appropriate to do so. But I think in this case, he realizes that if they're going to stick together, they're not going to do that if she's furious with him. So, he's got her back here, and he says that, and then he looks over at Mildred, who hesitates for a moment because she's obviously torn. She wants the police protection, but she also doesn't want to break ranks, I guess, and so she kind of tips her chin up and she says, "Let the creep come." So I mean, they're united here, the three of them. Even if it's the wrong choice, they're on the same wavelength. Benjamin threatens to lock them up as material witnesses, to which Laura says they'd be out before he could finish the paperwork. He gives up and says, "Have it your way," telling the cops that the Wild Bunch doesn't need them. So there's one of our film references. Mm-hmm. He leaves, and Laura turns to Steele, saying that she will go find the other witnesses and tell them that they aren't backing down. Didn't they already call them?
Yeah.
Mildred called them, so it seems kind of an odd...
She feels that they need to call them again because when they called the first time, Scabbard hadn't been discovered to have been injured, by a falling X-ray machine. I wish people would just stop dropping those out of airplanes.
Right.
And so now what they're doing is coming back and saying, you know what? Yes, we know that this happened, but that hasn't changed our position.
Yeah.
We are still doing this.
I think the only part where that kind of like seems maybe not the best writing decision is that Mildred already called them once. She could just pick up the phone and call them all again. This is obviously a way of getting them separate so that the stuff can happen to Laura separate from Steele. I wish they had a different reason that she needed to go and do something. Steele suggests regrouping at her place, citing a sudden urge for togetherness. Mildred agrees, and Laura tells him she should be home around 6. And again, why wouldn't Steele go with her if this is what she's doing, right? Like it feels like they didn't know how else to narratively separate them. So he hands her the gun, tells her just in case she bumps into any stray X-ray machines. Because, that happens all the time.
Yes, all the time.
Yeah. She takes the gun and walks out the door. Steele watches her go, commenting that she's a feisty piece of baggage. Mildred says she's a little too feisty for her blood. Steele points out that she has a point to prove Mildred. She asks what that is, and Steele says that a woman with intelligence, determination, and a certain amount of training can be as stupidly macho as any man. I do like that statement. And then Mildred is shocked. They are playing clay pigeons so that she can win the battle of the sexes.
Well, in this context of this exchange here between Steele and Mildred, and Steele's line about stupidly macho as any man, and Mildred's comment about battle of the sexes, it's the irony of it, where people often become or do the things that they're critical of in others.
Yeah.
For a long time, women have complained about, in the past, about the stupid macho attitude of men, as Steele puts it, which is currently working under the label of toxic masculinity. And then they emulate that same attitude as a way of combating it, thinking that, well, we're fighting fire with fire. But, other people just see that as you're a hypocrite. You said it was wrong when they did it. You can't use that as an excuse to do it yourself and say, well, you did it first. And so, I do like Steele's line here because it does point out.
It's interesting, though, because Steele he doesn't have that macho element to his character, and he never really has. He's But there's that attitude, and it was there in the first episode of me man, you woman, you secretary. Yeah,
me,
he
did.
Yeah. He definitely had. I just mean in terms of like what we normally think of as toxically macho is like the Butch Bemis character, or the character that is crude and vulgar and.
Well, that's the most apparent display of it, but it's also when a man just takes charge. He didn't ask us, that's that same attitude at a much lower temperature, but people still look at it and say, well, that's toxic, because you assume that because you're a man that you're in charge. Well, maybe it's because that's my job or something. I'm the boss, or, I'm in charge of this thing or that thing. And that's my responsibility, is to make these decisions and be in charge. But people look at that and say, well, you assume that because you're a man, you're in charge.
Well, I think it really depends on, obviously, the situation. But I think in terms of like Steele, like the littler moments that we've seen come from him, for example, assuming that Laura was the secretary, I don't know that I would attribute that necessarily to toxic masculinity so much as I would attribute that to societal norms, and might there be a little bit of bias in there, a little bit of like inherent bias that assumes woman equals secretary? Sure, but there's enough around him to suggest that that's one of those like mistakes that people can make, like kind of assuming that the mistake that people sometimes make if you mention your doctor and they assume the doctor is male, because of societally that's largely been a male dominated profession. Whereas I think when you get to things like when Steele ordered food for everybody at the table, I would call that like a display of like being like macho and kind of arrogant, because he assumed that he just sort of had the authority or the like that other people didn't want to order their own food. That's his role as the
man. But that's the attitude I'm talking about, is even that at that level is deemed as macho from the standpoint of macho is always associated with men assuming that they are in charge, they're superior, that the women can't do it for themselves, that men have to lower the toilet seat because women are incapable of doing it for themselves. Sorry, just had to sneak that one in.
To be fair, you try going into the bathroom at 3 a.m. and not knowing that it's... if you fall in, okay? You fall in.
I saw something that somebody posted on Facebook or something where it was a photo of a sign that was in a shared restroom. It was a single person occupancy restroom, so it was used by both males and females. And the sign was something about, "Men, please be polite and lower the seat for the women." And somebody else put a note underneath that says, "You're a strong woman. You don't need a man. You can do this yourself. You got this, woman."
I will say that I don't know that he uses the word macho, so obviously that's the word that's being used in this particular context. But in terms of like masculinity, I think people forget that a lot of the time that the word masculinity isn't the thing that people have an issue with. Like healthy masculinity is great. It's, when you have a character like Mr. Steele, who I think in many ways, like, he has his moments where he's kind of a jerk, but like most of the time he's embodying that healthy masculinity, i.e. he respects Laura. He takes, when Laura says no to him, like they've been together for 4 years. Oh, hello, I'm here. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you froze.
That's weird. Okay. Are we good?
I'm good. I'm good.
Like,
I'm adequate.
They've been together for 4 years and have not made their relationship fully physical. And if he were your typical toxic masculine jerk, that wouldn't happen. He would have either just left, or if he were a really horrible person, done something illegal, right? But he's respected her boundaries. Pressure. Yeah, he's respected her boundaries, even if they've had arguments over it. It's never been about, like, you owe me this. It's more just about how they're not on the same page, or what the issues with our relationship are. He's respectful of her pretty much all the time, even when they fight. Like, I don't see him as a example of toxic masculinity. I see him as an example of healthy masculinity. He's not afraid to be a man and to express himself as a man, but at the same time, he doesn't walk around swinging his chest out like Butch Bemis. He's not having to prove his manliness at all times. I think that's where it gets into that realm of, like, gross, whatever you want to call it. You could call it that, or you could call it anything else. But you're right. I do think he is pointing out here that sometimes you get that swing on the other way where, and I'm not saying this is the case for all feminists either, but certainly there are some who feel that the only way, as you said, to be a feminist is to fight fire with fire, and that doesn't really advance or help the cause in the way that they're thinking it does. No. So I don't think that Steele necessarily believes that's entirely what she's trying to do, but it's part of it, maybe, or in his mind, because he does say it's the only battle worth fighting. And Mildred says,
your comment there just a minute ago about feminists using it to fight fire with fire, behaving the same as men, it reminds me, I don't remember how the line goes exactly, something about why would women want to lower themselves to be equal with men? or something like that.
So we used to have these like little 60-second long, I don't know if you'd call them public service announcements. They were like history lessons. They were called Heritage Minutes.
Okay.
And they'd like take a moment of our history and show a little story that kind of explains it in 60 seconds. Mm-hmm. And it would be like in between commercial breaks and whatnot. And there was one Heritage Minute devoted to women gaining the right to vote in, I think it was Manitoba, because it went sort of province by province. And they haven't changed the name to Person-toba? The little minute-long story which showed men having these rallies against women voting, and the argument behind it, the politician, the premier at the time, arguing that nice women don't want the vote. And then, in contrast, you see Emily, I can't remember her name, the woman that the Heritage Minute's about, whose name is blanking in my head, her holding a similar rally, but turning it on its head and yelling about how nice men don't want the vote. And like and she's kind of like turning it, like flipping it around, like men can't be trusted to do this. They're too emotional. They're too this, and like all of the things lobbied at women, right? And eventually at the end of the minute, you see that when she got the right to vote and she goes in to check the box or whatever, she comes out and the premier's standing there and they are asked to take a picture together, and she says to him, "What, you don't want you to have your photo taken with a woman who isn't nice, do you?" And like the picture's taken, and so yeah, it just made me think of that. But anyways, Mildred tells Steele that he's lost this round. She's on to him, and he says, "In what context?" And Mildred says, "The secret admirer stuff. She knows it's you." And Steele kind of grins and he's like, "Does she now?" And Mildred reminds him, just like before. And Steele, as you said, says that even to Mildred that she's known him long enough now to realize he never repeats himself. Makes him too predictable. And Mildred says, "Are you really telling me that you're not the one sending all those gifts?" And he says, "Not a one," but instructs Mildred not to tell her that. And Mildred's like, "I'm lost. There's a nuance here that escapes me." And Steele, he says that she's the one sending the gifts. And Mildred says, "To herself?" And Steele replies, "Exactly." Mildred says, "Why?" And Steele says, "It's obvious." And Mildred points out that in her day, if a guy got you something, he would make damn sure you knew about it so that he could collect. Oof. But again, that just goes around to that same point that Steele has not done any of that. Like, he's never implied, like, well, you owe me.
It's not necessarily that. It could be, well, you owe me a dinner date or an evening out dancing or something like that. I mean,
true.
It doesn't have to be, you know, the.
I mean, I do think Mildred is hinting at that, but she's also she's also hinting at a transactional element to dating that I think exists for some people.
Yeah,
I personally don't agree with any of it. And when I was dating, if somebody asked me out to dinner or something like that, I would always pay my share of the bill, regardless of how much they offered to pay or whatever, because I wouldn't want to be in the situation where, and to be fair, that happens rarely.
Well, that just shows that you were dating the wrong kind of men if you thought that they were going to expect something from you.
No, it's not even that. It's I feel indebted. If somebody,
well, that's your problem.
No, I just mean, like, if somebody that I don't know well enough, like, if Scott buys me dinner, I mean, we're married. Sure, go for it. We do have our.
He doesn't have to worry about who he's going to have as his date on New Year's Eve.
I just mean, like, I don't feel as indebted to somebody that I know and have known for a long time as I would necessarily to a stranger. And I might end up breaking boundaries of my own, that just because I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to feel like I owe anything to anybody, or I don't want to put myself in a position where somebody feels like I owe them something. So I have always, like, paid my way, or, but if you get to know somebody and you start dating them and you're in an established relationship, then I feel like it turns into whoever asks pays. Like, if I ask you, I pay the bill. If you ask me, you pay the bill. Like, that's, how it goes. So, I mean, but Mildred's kind of referencing that whole, like, if I'm taking you out and I'm paying, I at least get a kiss at the end of the night or whatever. Steele tells Mildred that she wants to make him think that there's someone else to force him into declaring his eternal, undying devotion to her. And here's where I think Steele should know better, because this is not how Laura operates. He's thinking of how he would do it. Like, he's literally
accusing other people of what you would do in that same situation.
Yeah, this is
where
called
have we heard
projecting.
that before?
It's like when a partner accuses the other person of cheating when it's them that are cheating. Like, this is Laura's never done any of this nonsense. She doesn't play these games. Like, this isn't her. And if he stopped for 3 seconds, he would realize that. Kind of how, like, later on they realize it isn't him. With the teddy bear.
He's overthinking it. It's like I'll go back to Kim Possible. It's a trap. Yeah, I know it's a trap. Well, if you know it's a trap, well, it's a trap because they want you to know it's a trap. But the trap is that.
Well, or Serenity, like the Firefly movie, where you see the scene where Mal and Inara have that conversation and they're being really polite to one another, and then afterwards he walks into the bridge of the ship and everybody's sitting around, and I think Kaylee's like, so, that was Inara. And he's like, yeah. And then Zoe's like, so, trap? And he's like, yeah, trap. And then Kaylee's like, how do you know it's a trap? She could just want to talk to you. Some people have feelings. And then he's like, you guys were watching? Yeah. Did you see us fight? No. Trap. So, yeah, that's kind of how, yeah. So, Steele, you should know better. This isn't how Laura operates. He tells her he's not ruffled by the secret admirer. He plans to wait her out, driving her sufficiently bananas until she fesses up. I like that he's enjoying this, that this is something that he's this is where his game playing kind of kicks in. Because, like, for him, this is almost like foreplay to him. Laura playing games with him, trying to, like, mess with his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mildred laughs and says, you two do love these little games, don't you? And Steele says it adds spice to the relationship. He starts to leave, and Mildred asks where he's going. He tells her to buy a new gun for the agency. Mildred says, make it 2. And while he's at it, throw in a bazooka.
I don't think you can get those very easily. So that might be on that long shot list.
Well, it's funny because this actually came up on another podcast that I listened to, a Buffy podcast, because there is an episode where there's a demon that's brought back from, like, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and the lore is that no weapon forged can kill him. And eventually they steal a rocket launcher from the military base nearby, and when they confront the demon, he's like, no weapon forged can kill me. And she's like, that was then. This is now. And she shoots him with a rocket launcher and blows him to pieces.
Technically, it wasn't a forged weapon.
But they got into a discussion as to whether or not a bazooka and a rocket launcher were the same thing. And so they basically said on the podcast that they are, but a bazooka was like the first sort of early type of rocket launcher. It was developed in 1942, and it was like the brand name, which was, I guess, based on a musical instrument used by Bob Burns. So then,
I think a bazooka is actually more like a grenade launcher.
According to this, it's a specific type of shoulder-fired anti-tank rocket launcher developed for the Army during World War II.
Okay.
But yeah, so then, like, they were talking about how it's kind of like how we call tissues Kleenex, but not all. Like, all Kleenex are tissues, but not all tissues are Kleenex. So, yeah. Mildred wants a bazooka.
All Xerox machines are Xerox machines, but not all Xerox machines are Xerox machines.
Exactly. Yeah, you got what I'm saying. So, yeah, we switch over to Laura's loft, and we see the gun on the kitchen counter as she's cooking something.
Why?
I knew you were going to have an issue with this.
It doesn't do you any good if it's 25 feet away from you. You got to have it on your person so you can get it.
But not down your pants.
But not down your pants. That's right.
Not down your pants, yeah.
Down your pants.
I would like to point out that it doesn't look like she's that bad at cooking here. Granted, this isn't her special spaghetti, but, like, she seems to be pretty competent here. Like, I don't know what she's making, but
water.
Anyway. Yeah, it's funny because on TV, anytime you want to show that they're cooking something, it's always like a bunch of pots bubbling on the stove, and you're like, how many things do you need to bubble? Like,
a microwave is a legitimate way of cooking. I'm sorry, frozen dinner in there, 5.5 minutes, bam, you're done. That's cooking.
I think the only thing I use my microwave for is to heat up my tea when it goes cold. It does not get used much at all. But that's just us. I'm not a fan of I don't know. I feel like it tastes different when it's in the microwave. Like
Yes.
even soup, even my soup,
Coffee.
I'll pour into a pot and put it on the burner before I'll put it in the microwave.
Yeah.
I won't
Coffee
heat
reheated
coffee.
is not the same.
Yeah, no, I won't heat coffee in the microwave. Tea, I can heat in the microwave. Coffee, no.
I know somebody who will make a glass of tea, let it get cold, heat it up, let it get cold.
No.
Put it in the refrigerator for tomorrow. and heat it up.
No, see, I just forget. It's not intentional. I just forget.
Well, no, it's not intentional with this person either. It's just, and of course, half the time it's sitting getting cold. It's sitting in the microwave with the microwave going bing, bing, bing.
I can't say that I've had it go bing, 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 but I have put it in the microwave intending to heat it up and then forgotten it was there.
Yeah.
Although my husband has done that too, because there was a couple times where I've gone to heat my tea and I found an old cup of coffee in there, and I've been like, "Were you drinking coffee earlier? Oh yeah, that's where that went." Anyway, so yeah, she's cooking something, and the phone rings, so she picks it up. Assuming it's Steele or Mildred, she starts to tell them dinner's almost ready, but she's cut off by Dancer slowly saying, "Ho, ho."
Okay,
ho.
why? First of all, with all the problems that they've had, and especially with all the times that Mildred has handed out their phone numbers and their addresses, they should have changed their phone number. But they should have also had them taken out of the phone directory. I mean, there's no reason for them to A, have a phone number that anybody knows,
True.
and B, publish it in a phone book.
True. I mean, the agency phone book or phone number obviously has to be listed, but their personal
but not their
numbers don't.
personals, no.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. So yeah, she becomes angry and she says, "Now listen, you slimy," but he hangs up. She turns one of the burners on the oven off and hears a noise outside her kitchen. And I like this bit because it shows how genuinely frightened she is, right? She looks out the window, she closes it, she's looking around in the process. Why her window was open in the first place, I have no idea, but hey. She goes over to a lamp, turns it off.
She needed the breeze.
And then turns the rest of the lights off in the apartment. So she's like literally cowering in her loft, right? Meanwhile, in the office, we see, and I like that they're showing these moments of vulnerability and fear with all of the characters, not just the women, but Steele is quite unnerved with the situation too. Because you see that when he falls down the elevator, he's so frazzled about what's going on that he's not thinking. And all of them are in their own personal sort of moments where they're scared. They're scared for their safety. They're scared for this. It kind of shows us how different this is to them. I guess probably because they walked right through the front door, as Laura says later on in the episode. But we see Mildred turning the lights off. She goes back over to her desk and she gives a gasp of fear as she just imagines him coming through the door. But it's not him. It's just her imagination playing tricks on her. It's Ralph, the security guard. He asks her if everything's all right. She says it is. He tells her goodnight. She asks him to wait, grabs her things, and says she'll ride down with him. She says she has to meet Mr. Steele in the lobby. So this is Mildred doing the smart thing by getting somebody to come with her. Good for you, Mildred. Nice job. Meanwhile, Mr. Steele has just left his apartment. He goes over, presses the elevator button, only to hear his phone ring. He starts to go back, decides against it. You can see that indecision on his face. He's not really paying attention, though, so when the elevator door opens, sans elevator, he doesn't realize he's stepping into an empty shaft. How does this work? How did you remove an elevator and put it back again?
I don't know.
I realize we're not supposed to think too closely about this, but
the only thing I can think of
is a big job.
is if you somehow rewired the elevator to make it think that it was at a certain floor, but it triggered the doors for the correct floor. I don't know. I don't know enough about elevators to answer that. But yeah, it seems implausible.
Do we know what floor he's on? I feel like they've said it in the past, but like the third floor or something.
I don't remember.
I don't know how high up he is, but I would think that if he was high enough, the fall would kill him.
Well, not necessarily. If the car is just down one floor, he would land on top of the car.
That's true. So then we go back to Laura's loft. We hear a phone ring. The scene reveals that it's her building, but not her loft. And we can see Wally come in. He's in his loft. And he answers the phone, revealing that it's his place, not Laura's. And it's Laura on the other end. And this is where I think that it shows that she's not entirely working on just pride and I can do it myself. Because if she really thought that, she wouldn't call Wally. She wouldn't call somebody to have up there with her. Like, she's calling Wally because she's scared. She wants somebody to be there in case Dancer shows up. And she can't get a hold of Steele, and she can't get a hold of Mildred, and she doesn't know who else to phone. And as we've said before, Wally feels safe. And so that's why she calls him to come up. Like, this is her... I don't know that there's... This is where I say I don't think it's entirely pride, because if it was entirely pride, she wouldn't call Wally. She would maintain the whole, I can do it myself, I'll grab a wrench, I'll wait at the door. But she's genuinely frightened enough that she's called Wally, and you can see the fear in her eyes as she's talking to him on the phone, right?
Well, just because it was pride before doesn't necessarily mean it's still pride now. I mean, her motivations, her feelings could have changed. I mean, it was pride before because she was being confronted by somebody basically telling her, you can't cut it. You're not good enough. You need protection, little lady, because, you just can't handle a bad guy on your own. I mean, look at you. You're 120 pounds at most. And that's where it was the pride. Now that situation has gone. Now she's living through this. Every little noise that she hears is ratcheting up to fear. So now it is fear. But before it was, you can't handle it, little lady. Let the men take care of it for you.
He
okay?
did call her, and he knows where she lives. So like that's got to be terrifying, right?
Yep.
And again, I find it interesting that they put this subplot with Wally in here, because you didn't necessarily have to have it here. But I think it's also meant to show that the monsters are also at our door. They're not just these psychopaths that come at you in these crazy situations, being held hostage on Christmas Eve. They're the people that you know and the people you think are safe. And for a lot of women, that's usually where the violence comes from. It's not always the stranger danger. It's the person that you talk to every day and think is a safe person, right?
The people that are obviously dangerous, I mean, you can spot them. That's why they're obviously dangerous.
That's why they're obviously, exactly. Yeah.
It's the people who aren't obviously dangerous, but are, it's like everybody, he was such a fine boy. He never had any problem. He was so helpful.
Right. He was so polite. He was like all these serial killers that are described as being charming and handsome, and people trusted them. And if you talk to sexual assault survivors or abuse survivors, it's usually somebody that's a friend of the family, or somebody that's trusted, or somebody that is even sometimes a family member, father, mother in some cases. It's not always men, but like this is where the bulk of the violence and abuse that people experience comes from. It comes from people you know and people you trust. It doesn't necessarily, it could be a teacher or a religious figure or somebody a coach, right? It's the people that are in our lives, and Laura trusts Wally. He's been in her house.
And a constant theme throughout all those kinds of situations is everybody thought this person was so wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. And Laura has had no reason up till now not to think that Wally is not someone she can trust. He's
we're getting there though.
Well, yeah, we're going to get there for sure. But like
really soon.
So far, he's been polite. He's been helpful. He's responded to all of her requests to fix stuff. He had seemed up until this point like a sweet guy, right? She says she hopes she's not disturbing him, and he tells her he just got in. She asks him if he's busy, and he wonders if her sink is backed up again. She says no, she just wondered if he'd like to come up for a drink. And you can see his whole face. And again, this actor is so great. He's just like it. I think the script describes, if I can find it here in the script, we see, so the script actually describes more than what we actually see in the episode too. So that's worth noting, because when it shows his apartment, I guess in the script, because it says he hangs up in seventh heaven, smiling at his uncommon good fortune. Shrugging out of the jacket, he begins whistling Laura. Tossing the jacket over the back of his chair, he yanks the metal door closed and flicks on the lights. And we do see his wall of crazy, right, in the episode. He pulls the curtain back and he stares at it. It's covered with pictures of Laura, some clipped from newspapers, others candid snapshots. Camera moves in slowly, panning the display of a distorted version of Laura plays under. Some of the snapshots have obviously been taken with a telephoto lens, Laura in her loft, at the ballet bar, emerging from the bathroom wrapped only in a towel, undressing for bed. Wally, mesmerized by the lovingly assembled collection, he reaches out reverently, touches one of the more revealing snapshots, gently running his fingers across Laura's face and body as though it were the real thing, his fingers fairly tingling. Snapping himself out of his fantasy, he steps around the bed to a large gift-wrap package topped with a bow. He smiles at it proudly, then pulls the gift card from beneath the bow, removes a pen from his pocket, and I think this part we didn't actually see because I think probably they thought it was better revealed later, which I kind of agree with. But he signs it, your secret admirer, etc. So his face, seventh heaven is how it's described in the script, and that's pretty accurate. He enthusiastically... he says, now, and she says, as long as he's not busy. He says, no, I just got in. She says she'll be there. She still sounds pretty scared. He tells her that he will be right up, hangs up, and looks absolutely thrilled. Laura, meanwhile, picks up the phone and calls the police. She asks if Lieutenant Benjamin is in, but he isn't. She asks if the person on the other end knows where he went. When she doesn't get the satisfying answers that she wants, she asks if they know whether it had anything to do with the Delgetti case. She tells the person she's speaking to that she is trying to get a hold of her associate, Remington Steele, but she hasn't been able to reach him in his apartment. She tells them that she wonders if Lieutenant Benjamin may have spoken to them. And then she gives them her name, and that tells them that she's very anxious to hear from him. Gives her number, hangs up, paces nervously again, and phones Steele's apartment. Getting no answer, she hangs up, saying, "Where are you?" The loft buzzer goes, and she looks at the door, frightened. And it's interesting, because she just called Wally, but it's almost like she's forgotten that she has.
Well,
which I get.
That, or she's thinking, Dancer just called me.
Yeah.
Is this him? I mean, was he just around the corner calling from a payphone? So
she's being. Oh no, it wasn't a criticism. It would be.
I'm just saying it's not necessarily that she forgot that Wally was coming up. It's just her fear that it might be somebody else other than Wally at this point.
Yeah. And she goes over to the door. She asks who it is. Wally tells her, Wally Donovan. So she opens the door. On the other side, we see Wally standing there holding a huge wooden gift box, bigger than he is.
Yeah.
Laura asks what that is, and he tells her that someone left it outside her door that morning. He didn't want anyone to steal it, so he took it to his place. A perfectly plausible explanation. Because at this point, we still don't see anything off about Wally, except that she doesn't see anything. We as the audience know that he's, crazier than a sack of hammers, if that's not even a really expression, but you know what I mean. Like, we've seen
crazy
his wall.
Alone,
Whereas she's still seeing this nice part of him. He sets the box down, looks around, commenting on how spooky it is in there because it's still pitch dark.
Yeah.
She laughs and pretends she hadn't noticed how late it was. She turns the lights on and asks him what he'd like to drink. He tells her club soda, adding that he doesn't drink, smoke, or do drugs. And he still has that kind of sweet boyishness to himself. Like, I don't drink, smoke, or do drugs. Like, he still seems kind of cute. If we hadn't seen his crazy wall, we would not.
Well, except we didn't really see it. That was in the script.
I thought they did show it. I thought they showed it. This is my Mandela effect then, because I thought they actually showed that part.
Not here.
Okay. Not here. Yeah. So he says, "You won't think less of me if I have a drink, will you? It's been a rough day." Or sorry, she says that.
Yeah.
He smiles and tells her there's nothing wrong with a drink every now and then. Laura agrees, saying she will drink to that as she pours the wine. Wally confides he used to be heavily into drugs, every controlled substance known to man and a few that haven't been invented yet. He tells her it was a crutch and that whenever things started moving in, he would just take a trip to Happy Land. He says he missed a whole decade that way. Laura looks at her wine glass and hesitates. Wally adds that when it got the better of him, he had to quit. So she throws her wine down the sink and tells Wally he's right. They mustn't let things get the better of them. Phone rings again, and she answers, hopefully only to have the person hang up. Do we think that was Dancer?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's interesting, though, because he's headed over to Steele's place. He's not headed to her house. So it's kind of odd that he just called again and hung up. I guess maybe just trying to terrify her, but...
What? He's not headed over to Steele's place at this point, I don't think. Because that's quite a bit later. I think
but he never shows up at her place. He only goes to Steele's.
Yeah. But, I don't think he's headed over to Steele's place at this point, and he could just be doing it, in rotation. Okay, I'm going to spend an hour harassing Laura with phone calls. I'm going to hassle Mildred for an hour. Then I'll do Steele.
He's got a little checklist.
Yeah, he's got a schedule. And it's rotation,
Wally asks if when she puts it down, she's visibly shaken, and he asks if there's something wrong, and she says it's just a creep. Nothing for him to worry about. Wally admits to her that he never dreamed he'd be up here like this, sharing a drink.
Okay. That, and then a line coming up later. But keep that line in mind. I'll let you say it when we get there, but Okay.
He then notices the place settings on the table and asks if she's expecting company. She's surprised and tells him just some people from the office. He sort of his eyes kind of go cold and he says, "Your boss?" And it's obvious this is something that bothers him, and Laura, distracted, says she doesn't know what's keeping him. Wally, now visibly upset, asks if that's why he asked her up there, to kill time before he got there. Laura looks at him in surprise and assures him that she just wanted to thank him for all the nice things he's done since he became manager. And, I mean, to be fair, Wally is correct. That's why she called him. But Laura, I think Laura's just trying to, reassure him that she's not using him. And in a way, she kind of is, but...
Yeah, she is. But the thank you is something that she knows she should probably do, and so she's going to use that as the cover. So she killed two birds with one stone, so to speak. So
I think she's genuinely grateful for Wally's help, and so she's honest when she says that she wanted to thank him. Yeah, but also she's scared
at this particular time. It's just I'm also using it.
Yeah. So, she just wanted to thank him all the nice things. She tells him she really appreciates it. He says there isn't anyone he would rather do things for.
That's the one. So I never dreamed we'd be here like this, and there isn't anybody in this building I'd rather do things for than you. It's like, okay, that combined with the thing that she missed about him not reacting well to the fact that Steele was coming over. But just those two things alone, her creep factor should be starting to beep a little bit here.
I think it would be if it weren't for Dalgetty and the outside threat that she's aware of and on hyper alert about, because that's where her mind is entirely in fight or flight. Right. And it's not the person in the room with her. It's the guy that she knows is coming after her and who's been threatening her. So in her mind, even if she is kind of pinging on what Wally's saying, it might just register as, oh, he has a little crush, but he's harmless. And to be fair, he hasn't said anything directly threatening at this point. It's just, oh, shoot, he might have a thing for me. Oh, crap. Now this is going to be awkward. That might be where she's at. If she noticed it, I don't think she does notice it, but if she did,
definitely doesn't notice it.
It would be more along the lines of, oh, crap, I'm going to have to dissuade this poor guy. Whereas,
And you froze again. Yippee, you're frozen.
I'm still here, I promise.
I'm
still here.
You froze with that look on your face. But your mama warned you that not to make that face. You're going to freeze.
I'm still here, I swear. So he's obviously tipping his hand here, but Laura's not noticing it because she's so focused on dancing. Yeah. He calls her Miss Holt, and she tells him to call her Laura. And he does, and he takes that as a sign of intimacy. Laura tells him she doesn't want to take... this is a weird statement. She doesn't want him to take this as a put-down, but wonders how he ended up managing a building. I would not have immediately took that as a put-down. I would just take it as polite conversation. How did you end up in this job? I guess if you said it well, how did you end up in a crappy job like this? Then it would come off as a put-down, but...
Well, I think there may have been something... something implied here that they've had conversations in the past about other jobs that he's done. He was it earlier? He talks about sitting in a room with a windowless room, being an analyst.
No, he hasn't said that yet.
Okay,
he hasn't said that yet. Yeah.
But even though he hasn't said that particular thing at this point, something else may have been said about other jobs he's had in the past, and this being kind of a come down from those other things that he's either talked about or alluded to.
He all he said was, my other situation was a real like brain drain thing. So like he's hinted that his other job was more
intellectual,
cerebral. Yeah. So he tells her it's just temporary, saying that he needed a place to mellow out after his last situation. So again, his last situation. He hasn't actually even said job. He's just calling it a situation. He says those were the worst 8 months of his life. And then he says Miss Holt corrects to Laura, and that's where he says he was locked up all day in a room with no windows. She starts to look worried at this statement. She does start to ping a little bit here, but then he self-corrects and he says he was an analyst. He had to separate material, determine its essential features, and he senses she's not interesting and kind of trails off. Then he says, sometimes the more you use your mind, the more confused you get. Laura agrees, again, still focused on the outside situation, saying the mind can play terrible tricks if you let it. She goes back over to the pot and stirs it. He looks over at the big box and asks her if she's going to open her present. He says he doesn't know about her, but it's been driving him crazy. He admits that when he was a kid, he couldn't wait to see what he got for Christmas or his birthday. That he always used to sneak into his mother's closet and open the presents, but he did so really carefully so that she didn't know he did it. I think Laura senses here that he wants her to open it, so she walks over to the gift. Wally is still telling her how he...
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm at a loss to explain how somebody could slip the Scotch tape off and put it back and it not be noticeable, because I don't know about you, but I cannot get tape to pull off a piece of paper of any kind without leaving a mark.
Well, some of the Scotch tape is like got a film on it, and if the wrapping paper is thick enough, you can actually, but I don't know how you get the whole present. I don't know how you get enough wrapping, like enough of the tape removed to see what's inside. That, because like even if you could get one undone, I don't know how you'd do the whole present personally. I've never attempted it.
Hey, maybe that's what Foot Doctor was doing. He was x-raying his presents to see what was inside of them.
Could be. Like, I've never actually attempted to look at my presents ahead of time, so I don't know exactly how you do it. But so yeah, he claims that he was able to put it back the same way he found it, acting surprised when he opened it up in front of her. He says she never did catch on. I'm going to go out on a limb and say she probably did.
Yeah.
Laura says, here goes. She takes off the lid of the box and the sides just fall away, and we can see it's a giant teddy bear. Laura is thrilled. I wonder what she does with the teddy bear after this episode is all said and done. Like, just tosses it in the dumpster? Or like...
Yeah, she probably wouldn't want to have it around after what happens later. Yeah.
No, I'd be afraid there'd be a camera in there, given what we know about his surveillance.
That's true, too.
Right? Like, yeah, so Wally, she looks thrilled, and he asks her who it's from, and she says, one guess. He guesses your secret admirer, and she says, give the man a silver dollar. Wally says, wow, he sure knows what you like, as she lifts up the bear. She carries it to her bedroom as Wally comments that whoever it is seems to know an awful lot about her. Laura tells him that cards and gifts are one thing, but she wishes the guy would get off the dime and say something. Wally says that maybe he can't because he's afraid she would laugh at him. Laura says that's the last thing she would do as she sets the bear down. And they're having two different conversations, obviously, because Laura is imagining that it's Steele, and Wally is, again, crazy, but at least being honest about why he hasn't come forward as himself. To be fair, I don't think she would have, if putting aside the whole Wally's nuts part of things, if he was just a guy with a crush, I don't think she would have laughed in his face, but she would have let him down gently. So that's, she's not the type to look at somebody who has a thing for her and laugh at them, I don't think.
No.
But Wally asks what kind of guy that she thinks he is. And Laura, again, obviously thinking about Mr. Steele, says warm, gentle, very loving, although I know he'd deny it. Wally tells her that he hopes it doesn't frighten her that he can't come out and tell her how much he loves her. He sets the bear down, or she sets the bear down, and tells it to sit, which is really cute. I like that. Commenting on how sweet it is for him to be so concerned about her. And again,
creep alarm.
Yeah, but extenuating circumstances.
I'll grant you, but I mean, still.
Yeah. He walks up behind her, telling her that she deserves it and that there isn't anything he wouldn't do for her if she asked him. She seems unaware of how intense he's getting. He tells her he would be happy to spend the rest of his life with her, but the last part of that sentence is drowned out by the phone, so she doesn't hear that bit. She goes over to answer it, saying, "Now listen, you." While she's doing that, Wally is lost. He's in his own... He's on his own little planet here. He is lost in his feelings, and he's taking care of you, loving you. Laura pauses because she's on the phone. The look on her face tells her that the news on the other end of the phone is not good. So she says, "What?" just as Wally says, "Loving you." Again, she doesn't hear a word he's saying right now. She's focused on what's on the phone. She tells the person on the other end that she'll be right there and hangs up. She tells Wally she has to go and thanks him for keeping her company. He's surprised that she's leaving, and she tells him Mr. Steele's been hurt. He says, "You can't go now," but she barely hears him telling him to lock up when he leaves. Wally says, "Please, we were just getting to know each other," and there's an edge of desperation in his voice as she goes out the door. And honestly, Wally, you did that, so do you, what'd you think was going to happen there, dude? Anyway, so, yeah, that's true. His face goes cold as she does so, and we see him look over to the counter where she has left the gun. Laura left the gun sitting out like a responsible gun owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you keep it on you or within a foot or two from you at all times.
Yeah, well... At Mr. Steele's apartment, there's a cop outside the door. Laura exits the elevator, which apparently is now working again, announces who she is, and goes into the apartment to find Mildred tending to his facial wounds, and he's in a wheelchair with a broken leg. He got a cast pretty quick.
Yeah. Probably just went down to the corner drugstore, bought one of those one-size-fits-all casts, slapped that sucker on.
We're obviously playing fast and loose with the timeline here because all this is happening in one day. Yeah. And somehow he got medical care and a cast, and he's back in his apartment. Yeah. And it's been like...
If he had gone to the real emergency room, he'd have still been in the waiting room waiting to be seen.
40 years later, he'd still be there, yeah. Laura asks what happened, and Benjamin says that someone rigged the elevator. Mildred asks what he means by somebody, pointing out that he knows damn well who did it, and it's kind of hilarious that they're wrong here. But,
yes.
She says he's lucky to be alive, and Steele says his leg broke the fall. And again, this is another one of those really interesting callbacks to a previous episode. This one didn't even really need a callback, but I guess because this is Michael Gleason, he's trying to do as many as possible, because she says it's the same leg he broke when that guy who was killing all those bachelors ran him down. So poor guy's broken a leg, that same leg twice. Yeah. And he's also had it in traction in was it cast in steel when they...
Yep.
Yeah. So he's probably got so many scars now on his x-rays. Pins in his leg or whatever.
Can't walk through an airport without setting off the metal detector.
Exactly. Yeah. He says that now he knows how Jimmy Stewart felt in Rear Window and complains that the cast is starting to itch already. Laura asks, what about Dancer? Benjamin, seemingly unconcerned, says he probably thinks he finished Steele off and doubts he'll be back.
Yeah.
Laura says, well, I don't mean that. What are you doing to find him? And he unhelpfully says, we're looking. Cool.
Well, what does she expect him to do? Give her a complete moment by moment breakdown of their investigation? I mean, they're looking. What else? I mean, that covers it.
But Benjamin sort of comes across in the way, I think it's more the way he says it as opposed to what he says, because there's that I told you so smugness in his voice.
Well, and he did.
Yeah, but he's more interested in being right than reassuring them that they're actually trying to catch this guy. At the end of the day, as a police officer, his job is to serve and protect, regardless of how unhelpful your people are that you're serving and protecting. There's a bedside manner, right? And I don't know. It just feels like he's not wanting them to feel safe because they irritated him. He could be the bigger person here, but he's not.
Oh, he is.
He's just being a jerk.
Yeah, well, but I mean, she kind of deserves it. I mean, he's right. I mean,
except the dancer didn't even do this.
This could have been avoided. Well,
no, it couldn't have in this case.
Well, from all of their perspectives, it could have been if she had taken the police protection. I'm just
I don't
saying.
know. I think he could have said it in a way that is, he was a jerk from the second he walked through the door. And I don't think that she would have, like, I think if he had been less of an asshat at the beginning, this wouldn't come across the way it's coming across. I don't know. He just, like, from the minute he walks in, stop it, lady, you're turning me on. And then just, like, that arrogance, you know? I don't know. Anyway. Mildred tells Mr. Steele it's time to tuck him in. This is adorable. She's tucking him in. And Steele angrily says he doesn't want to be tucked in. He wants to get his hands on that. He can't come up with a suitable insult, so Mildred supplies the word greaseball. Laura magnanimously says that in light of Mr. Steele's condition, she would be willing to accept police protection for him. Again, okay, so here's my question. Why? If Dancer did this, and I mean, we know he didn't, but if he did, and Benjamin is correct about saying, like, he's not going to be back, why would he need the police protection?
Well, Laura hasn't taken his word on anything else up to this point, so maybe she's not taking his word on it that Dancer thinks that he's done Steele in, and she's not going to take his word on the idea that he won't be back.
I mean, to be fair, it's not Dancer, but
right. But I mean, she's not going to give him credit for being right in this case on the with his presumption that it's not going to, that it's going to continue. But yeah.
Of course, he doesn't miss an opportunity. He says he doesn't want to say all this could be avoided, and she pointedly says, "Thanks for not saying it." Laura goes into the bedroom.
I'm not going to say I told you so, but
yeah, right? I mean, that's like when somebody says, "I'm not racist, but," or "I'm not like." I'm sorry, if you have to preface what you're about to say with "I'm not racist, but," or "I'm not sexist, but," or "I'm not whatever, but," you're about to say something that is.
You have this fascination with butts, don't you?
Yeah, I like butts. I like big butts, and I cannot lie. Sorry. Anyway, Laura goes into the bedroom to find Mildred fussing over getting his pillow right and Steele complaining. Laura sends her out to get some coffee, and Steele tells her he hates feeling like this. It makes him feel bloody useless. Laura admits that it was probably her fault. She had taken Benjamin's offer for police protection. It might not have happened. Steele mutters the word stupid, and Laura surprisingly doesn't argue with him. She says, yes, she was stupid, and she apologizes. Like, this is... Benjamin's one thing, but in the privacy of the room between just the two of them, she has no issue saying, yeah, I was an idiot. I'm sorry. Like, in any other circumstance, like, he wasn't calling her stupid. He's calling himself stupid, but she doesn't know that. She thinks that he's calling her stupid, and rather than get her hackles up, she agrees with him. I'm going to say that she doesn't think he was calling her stupid. Or that what she did was stupid. The
decision was stupid.
Yeah. But either way, and I think in any other circumstance, she would have gotten irritated by that statement. But she knows enough here to admit that that decision was not the right one. And she doesn't challenge him on it. She's just like, you're right. It was stupid. I'm sorry. But he says, no. Not you. Me. Embarrassed, he tells her the phone was ringing. He thought it was her calling to find out what was keeping him, and he was so busy trying to decide whether to answer the phone or get to the loft. He wasn't watching, and he uses his hand to kind of motion him falling down the elevator shaft. Laura smiles and sits down on the bed and tells him if it's any consolation, his teddy bear was a big hit. And he says, what teddy bear? Laura says, haven't we sufficiently exhausted this secret admirer thing? Steele agrees that they have, and Laura says, then you admit it. Steele says, I admit I know who's sending you gifts. And Laura says, care to share this startling revelation? And he grins smugly and says, a beautiful young woman who has picked up some of my talents with style and originality, but has failed to master the... She interrupts, shocked that he's implying her. And, she says, you think I'm sending those gifts to myself? And he counters with, what better way to arouse my jealousy?
Yeah.
Aroused by curiosity, arouses jealousy. Yep, okay. Choice of words there, noted. She pulls out, she says, you want to be aroused? Listen to this. And she pulls out the note and reads, forget that callous, egotistical show-off, Remington Steele, and choose a real man. He grabs the note, looks at it, and now seems a bit hurt. He says, really? Is that what you think of me? She insists she didn't write it. Steele says, I didn't write it either, wondering why he would write something like this about himself. And Laura says, no doubt, so I would come to your defense. Steele tries a new tactic, saying, Laura, do you really think I'm the sort of man who would give a woman a teddy bear? And I love that this is the thing. I love that this is the moment where Laura's like, oh, yeah. Because honestly, no, he's not the sort of person that would give a woman a teddy bear. And to be fair, I love teddy bears. Anyone wants to give me a teddy bear, feel free, you know? But Steele is not that kind of guy. Steele is the watch with the tiny diamonds around the face, or the fancy jewelry, or the candy or chocolate. He's a traditional sort of like romantic gifts kind of person. So are you the kind of person that would buy a woman a teddy bear? Have you done so? Have you teddy beared?
No, I don't think I have. I don't think I am. No, I tend to buy other things.
Fair enough. Yeah. Like my husband bought me a Freddy Krueger hand for one of my Christmas presents. So like that's that's our love language right there. So, it's not teddy bears. So yeah, that's where she's like, oh, when you put it that way. And then Steele comes to the same realization that there really is a secret admirer roaming around somewhere, and Laura wonders who it is, right? And so there's, a thought pops into her head. She tells him she's going to go see what's keeping Mildred with the coffee. This is, I think, where she's realizing, oh crap, I left the gun on the counter. She gets up and leaves and goes into the living room. She tells Mildred she has to go out for a bit. Mildred says why, and she tells her not to tell Mr. Steele, but she left the gun on the kitchen counter. She tells Mildred to keep an eye on him, and Mildred says nothing gets past Krebs, and then she walks into his bedroom. I hope. Poor Mildred.
Well, in all fairness, they've gotten past her before. They'll get past her again.
They've even got police out front that still doesn't keep Delgetti out. So
no.
Yeah. We see Laura go back to the loft, turn on the lights, and walk over to the counter, only to see the gun is gone. She gasps, and we switch back over to Steele's apartment, where Mildred is bringing a cup of coffee out to the police officer outside the apartment. Only he's not there. She comes back inside, rattled, and hears Steele asking where Laura is. She tells him that
she didn't even bother to lock it.
Yeah, right? Yeah, well, I have a couple of issues with this whole scenario, but we'll get there. Because, so she says that she had to go out for a while, and Steele asks where she is as Mildred checks the kitchen. She calls back, and she says she'll be back. Cool it, Chief. She rummages around the drawer and grabs a knife, then goes back over to the phone and picks it up. As she dials, we see a shadow approach her from behind. She turns with the knife in her hand and almost stabs poor Steele, who has made it out with his crutches. Scared, he asks if she plans on doing a bit of carving, and she tells him the cop outside isn't. Steele suggests he might have gone to relieve himself, but Mildred points out they have facilities in here. They hear a knock at the door, which scares both of them. They ask who it is, and they hear a voice say, Officer Hanley. They open the door and find the cop standing there, only to fall down dead from what looks to be a wound to the neck. Did he calmly say his name outside the front door before falling down dead?
Yeah, sounds like it
to
me.
That sounded real casual. Like, it's Officer Hanley. Open. That seems a little weird. Like, you'd think if you had just been stabbed and were on death's door, you'd be like, help, help, or something.
But not in the world of Remington Steele.
No, clearly not. But then here's what's bizarre to me. The door is wide open, and he killed this guy, so why does he smash his way through the window? The door's wide open. He could walk in.
Maybe he wasn't counting on them being so foolish as to leave the door open.
Well, but even if he could have kicked it in,
he likes the scare factor better this way.
To be fair, there is a theatricality to him that you're right. It's just weird that the cop knocked on the door after he's been stabbed in the neck, said his name real calmly. They open the door, he falls, and then he smashes his way through the window. Did he stab him and then run around the building?
And he ran really fast, and he climbed up the side of the building really fast.
Right, like Spider-Man?
With a rope that he had pre-positioned there And nobody looked at it, saw the rope, thought this is weird. Maybe we ought to take this down. No, they just left it there for him.
You see why I'm asking questions? It just seems like a lot of trouble when he could have like stuck up behind Officer Hanley, held a knife to his neck, and got him to knock on the door. And then when they open it, slit his throat and come right on in. Like, anyway, he's killed a cop now, so he's there's murder involved. So Steele tells Mildred to shut the door, which she does, but it doesn't matter because for some reason, like I said, he chooses to smash a chair through the balcony window. He has a gun in hand and tells them that he hopes they don't mind him barging in, but he just dropped in to say he hopes everyone has a belated Merry Christmas. He's really in on this whole Christmas thing, which is kind of fun. Somehow, despite being all the way on the other side of the room, he has Mildred's knife. He asks if it's a little too late for Thanksgiving.
Well,
calls Mildred.
There was a cut there, so we can presume that he told her to bring it to him, or he walked over and took it from her and then stepped back, something like that.
Because a knife, you can't bring a knife to a gunfight, as I say. Like, it wouldn't have done Mildred any good holding onto a knife halfway across the room.
Well, if she was experienced with it, if she was experienced with it, she might have had the upper hand, because within 20, 25 feet, a person with a knife can be more dangerous than a person with a gun.
But he calls her Brunhilde again, asks if she was thinking about sticking a different kind of bird. He tells them both to park it. So Steele and Mildred sit down, and Steele puts his foot up on the coffee table. Dalgetty asks what happened, and if he tripped over his mirror. He just... I love the fact that he can't let go of the pretty boy comments, like all the comments about his appearance. He just can't help himself, you know?
He's obviously got body issues, body image issues, you know?
He does. So did you trip over your mirror? And Steele says it's the same thing that happened to Dr. Scabbard. And Dalgetty says that was a terrible accident. I almost got hurt myself. Those x-ray machines are heavy. Mildred says, why? Wasn't there an elevator in his building? Dalgetty, he's genuinely confused. He doesn't know what he means. And Steele wonders why he's being so coy, referring to him as Dancer. Dalgetty corrects him, saying it's Anthony. Steele apologizes, saying he thought he would be proud of his handiwork, and asks whether he's disappointed he's still relatively in one piece. Dalgetty asks what he's talking about. Mildred demands to know if he's trying to tell them that he didn't rig the elevator in that building. Dalgetty says if he had, they would still be scraping him up. Although, he didn't kill Scabbard either. So,
but not from lack of trying.
True. I guess maybe the implication is that the violence would be more pronounced if he had been responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Horrified, Mildred wonders if he didn't, who did? Steele starts to realize as Dalgetty tries to tell him the drill, but Steele interrupts, almost having forgotten that he's there. Steele suggests the kind of person who would hide behind anonymous notes and gifts. Mildred realizes it's Laura's secret admirer, and Dalgetty's getting even more frustrated, like, hey, I'm the one with the gun. Will someone pay attention to me?
That must be terrible.
I know, right?
Think you're in charge because I got a gun pointed at you, but nobody cares.
They've totally forgotten him. It still points out he considers him a rival. He might just be unbalanced enough to want him out of the picture permanently. Mildred jumps up, again, both of them having forgotten that they're in danger themselves, saying, we have to warn Miss Holt. Dalgetty tells her that they're going to use the phone, but not for that. Mildred says, oh, please, she might be in great danger.
And he loves it, yes.
Oh, I know, he cheers up. He's like, really?
That's terrific.
Another one taken care of, and I don't have to lift a finger. This thing is going good. He hands the phone to Steele and tells him that he's going to call all the other witnesses and convince them not to testify. Steele asks what will happen after he places those calls, and Dalgetty says they'll take a little drive out in the country someplace. Mildred asks how many will come back, and he tells her he has a really small car. At Wally's loft, we see the lights are out as Laura knocks on the door. She opens it and calls for Wally, letting him know that she's there.
Okay, so not only can she just walk into Wally's apartment because it's not locked, she does. Without even thinking about it, as if maybe this isn't the socially acceptable thing to do, just to walk into somebody's apartment. No. I mean, does anybody on this show know what locks are for?
No, they don't. But she obviously suspects that he has the gun, and she may have made the connection about the secret admirer, but I don't know that she's gotten to the point where she sees him as dangerous yet.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, she might be thinking, oh, he's taken the gun to protect me. Like maybe she's worried that he might do something to...
Or he took it because it shouldn't be left laying around.
Sure, he cares about gun safety. That's the kind of guy Wally is.
That's right. I mean, he's so thoughtful. Yeah, so considerate. Thoughtful. Such a nice boy.
Yeah. She goes up the steps to the bedroom and is horrified to see the wall. That's where we see the whole shebang. Not just in her public life, like it said in the script, inside her loft. He's seen her coming out of the shower. She's at the bar. Like some of the pictures have her in nothing but
there's one that's the one with her taking the shoulder strap of her slip off.
Yeah.
That's the best photograph of all of them.
Well, it's creepy as hell.
Well, I'm just from the standpoint of the glamour, I guess I would say that one is okay. That one is one that you would that's one you would.
I was sure he'd have a great career in photography if he wasn't a frickin' psycho. But I think the Dalgety is framed as the really terrifying presence in this episode. And then this episode flips the script here because all of a sudden it's not like, yes, she's still, I mean, Dalgety's still out there and he's still terrifying and he's still dangerous, but this is somebody she's let into her life. She's let him into her home, and he has violated her privacy in ways that are beyond disturbing, and she never knew. Like that realization there must be more terrifying than anything Dalgety could do, because Dalgety, all of his threats have been
direct
and but this is so like she didn't know that this guy was stalking her.
One of those photographs taken from an outside view through a window shows her lying on the bed reading. And what's behind her?
I didn't see what, or
the lamp.
Oh yeah, the lamp. Yeah. She must have one at home as well as at the office. Yeah.
Which we also see coming up in another shot.
I did. You know what? I did notice that, and I completely forgot about it. But yeah, the lamp.
Yeah, but there's one of the photos on the wall. Her lying on the bed in a blue robe, nice legs, reading a book.
You should not be admiring Wally's handiwork. Okay.
But behind her on the nightstand is that lamp.
Say it with me. We do not compliment sociopaths. We do not compliment sociopaths.
I'm complimenting the photo, and I'm complimenting the subject.
Anyway. Yeah, so, and then, of course, we've got the one with Steele's face scratched out, which,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so...
That's a classic psycho move.
Yep. And then from behind her, Wally says he should be very angry with her. She turns around and approaches him, trying to sound curious but not threatening. And again, like, there's fear. You can see the fear. She's trying to not alert him to that fact, but she is scared. She asks why he has those pictures of her, and he tells her that so he could have her with him always. Every night before he goes to sleep, he could touch her. Oh
yeah, creep alert, full bore.
This makes your skin crawl, because like Dalgety just wants to kill them. Like, and I don't mean to downplay that, because that's obviously terrifying as well. But what he wants to do is more violating in a lot of ways, in the sense that, like, if you're killed, you don't know about it after the fact. You're gone. But this has been ongoing, and he wants her, but he's not concerned about whether she wants him. He's just...
It's all about him.
Yeah. And he begins to advance towards her, saying he doesn't need them anymore because now he has her. She starts to tell him she's flattered, but not interested. But he cuts her off, saying that she was right about the kind of person he is. Warm, gentle, very loving. I'm sure he believes that. He gets closer to her, and he says he's glad she likes the watch. He spent weeks picking out the right one. And obviously he knows what she likes, because he's been watching her for so long. He would know the jewelry that she would appreciate and the candy and the chocolates because he's just been creeping her for so long.
Yep.
Carefully, she thanks him for cleaning out her loft and adds that it was very thoughtful. He eagerly tells her he likes doing things for her and that this is only the beginning. Laura asks if he found the gun on the kitchen counter, and she's trying to be very tactful. Wally tells her that she ran out so fast she forgot it. Laura says it was very careless of me and assures her he assures her it's in a safe place. And he's kind of like clutching her hands like really tightly at this point. And you can see like the revulsion and how she wants to be anywhere but near him. And yet, it's just such a claustrophobic scene because like she can't move and she's sort of like walking this tightrope of trying to get the gun back, trying to convince Wally that she's playing along with his delusions and not trip him up because he's obviously not okay in the head.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of situation where she obviously wants to leave, but she can't just leave because that will evoke
an emotional
violent
response.
Reaction.
Yeah. And she knows now that this guy is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like, he's not all there.
Yeah.
And he looks up and he asks how her boss is. And Laura, that's where it clicks that he's responsible for that, too. And she does some really good facial acting here because, like, you can see the horror and then how she covers it up really quickly and how she sort of pretends not to care enough, at least, that Wally buys it because she says he broke his leg, and Wally looks upset and angry as he realizes Steele is alive, and he says, is that all? And he's clutching her hands even tighter, and she says he's hurting her as he squeezes. And then he says, well, his mother taught him if at first you don't succeed, he trails off there. Given what happens to Mom.
Yeah.
Back at Steele's apartment, we see him on the phone with one of the witnesses, who he's obviously convinced not to testify. We learn it's Jack as he hangs up. He says, it's the better part of valor. There's no sense risking one's life to keep one more slug off the streets. And you can see Delgetty get visibly annoyed at the insult.
But he can't really do anything about it right now. And
nope.
When he is in a position to do anything about it, it's really not going to change the result and how it comes about. So yeah, might as well get your shots in now, you know?
Exactly, right? Steele then says he's taking an extended holiday. He looks up at Delgetty and winces and says very extended.
Yeah.
When he says goodbye, we learn that he was indeed talking to Jack. Once he hangs up, Delgetty asks him if he went for it. Steele, resigned, says that he has a heart condition that will force him into the hospital right when he's scheduled to testify. Now, here's a question. Even if a witness refuses to testify, can they not call them anyway as a hostile witness?
I think so. But if you can't get to them, either because they've disappeared or they are medically
unable, I get that.
That would complicate it. But yeah, I mean, I think they would subpoena them. And unless you're the Clintons, you have to respond to a subpoena. I'm sorry. So, you know, if they subpoena them and they don't show up, they can go out and arrest them and drag them into court. And then at that point, yeah, they might be deemed a hostile witness, which would be kind of detrimental to the prosecution case, I would think. Because you've got a person that's supposedly a prosecution witness, but they're being treated as a hostile witness. The only way it might be turned around to be used to the prosecution's benefit is if they were able to bring out during the course of the testimony that the reason they didn't really want to show up and testify was because they were in fear of their life from the guy.
Yeah. So, sorry, there's something flying around my face here. Delgetty hands him the phone number of the next person, Allison Green. Steele begins to dial, but he doesn't dial. He kind of distracts Delgetty. He says he had a chance to peruse his service records. He looks at Mildred, who looks a bit worried about where this is going. He tells him he couldn't find any reference to that Silver Star he won. And Mildred picks up what Steele's putting down and says, what Silver Star? He spent most of his time in the stockade. Mildred goes on to suggest he was too chicken to fight. And obviously this ticks off Delgetty, who isn't really watching Steele now, who is dialing a different number. Steele says, now, don't be harsh, adding that he's sure there were mitigating circumstances in Antony's case. Delgetty asks what that means, and Steele brushes it away as the phone rings, and we see the phone in question and realize he's not calling Allison Green, he's calling Laura's loft. When there's no answer, he puts the phone down and tells Mildred there's no answer from the young lady's loft, adding emphasis to that word.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mildred pointedly says, keep going, Chief, it's important. Steele does, and Delgetty begins to pace, no longer watching what Steele is doing. He says he doesn't care what the records say. He earned that Silver Star, and they were going to give it to him, too, until that big-mouth lieutenant said he'd dissipate orders, went off on his own, and got the platoon ripped up. I mean, yeah, that does tend to mar your military record, though, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah.
Getting a bunch of people killed?
Well, that would be. But the disobeying orders part, not necessarily. I mentioned this before, and I never bothered to look it up. There was somebody who was both court-martialed and awarded an award for the same act.
Well, but I mean, in this case, it sounds like he got his whole
people killed. Yeah.
So, Mildred disgustedly says, so he rolled a grenade under his bunk. Delgetty grins and says, that's the fortunes of war, Brynhilde. He adds that guys were picking bits and pieces of him out of their bunk for weeks. And then they could have shipped him home in a matchbox. And I mean, we have two very different types of psychos here. We have
two very different kinds.
We've got Delgetty, who is openly violent and delights in cruelty.
Enjoys it.
He's happy to announce.
Hey, I mean, if you're gonna do something, you might as well enjoy it.
But he also has these he's lashing out violently because he's deeply insecure about himself. Clearly, and then you've got Wally. Who I struggle to make a diagnosis there, but I'm not a psychiatrist, but I'm leaning towards either full-on psychopath or schizophrenic or a mixture of both, because he's more of this methodical, I'm going to stalk you, and you get the impression that it wouldn't have mattered how enthusiastic Laura was back, that eventually she would do something that he would see as a cardinal sin, and she would end up just like his mother. That's how his mind would work, because he's pedestalized her to a point where, I mean, anybody that pedestalizes a person, nobody can live up to that. But in Wally's case, if you don't live up to it, you die.
Yes.
Horribly. So, yeah, yikes. Steele suggests that Mildred get Auntie a drink, as a man can get thirsty telling all these war stories. I love this back and forth between them. I love how he's telling her exactly what he wants her to do. She knows. She doesn't need him to elaborate. She picks it up immediately. She doesn't hesitate. This is really good back and forth between the two of them. Delgetty says he never drinks when he's driving, and they have a long drive ahead of them. Mildred stands up and offers to make coffee.
She knows exactly what that was.
And this just pisses him off. Last time she threw a pot of coffee in his face, and she says, I'll make instant. But he tells her to shut up and sit down. She sits down and jostles a vase on the table, which Steele again says with heavy emphasis, don't knock the vase over. Impatiently, Delgetty says Steele may be trying the wrong number, so he hands over the phone and suggests he try. He takes it, begins to dial, and as he does, Steele gives Mildred the look that signifies what he wants her to do. She deliberately shoves the vase off the table, distracting him long enough for Steele to grab his crutches and hit him over the head. He reaches for his gun, but Mildred steps on his hand with her heel.
Oh, yes. That's...
Ow.
I'm sorry. That hurts just to even think about.
It hurt to watch, and I realized that it wasn't actually happening, but I was cringing as I watched it, because that would really hurt. That would really hurt.
Oh yes.
So yeah, that does the job. He screams in pain. She holds the gun on him, telling him she has a new hero, Dirty Harry, and they all know what his favorite expression is. And I love the fact that she gets to be the hero twice.
Yep.
Both Dancer, Prancer, Donner, Steele in this episode, it's Mildred that grabs the gun, Mildred that holds it on him. He needs to watch Mildred at this point. Yeah. She's the one he needs to worry about. Yeah. Steele continues to dial, and he's still getting no answer. At Wally's loft, we see he's listening to the busy signal on the phone because he's obviously called to see if Steele is home. He says it's a good sign. He thinks he's home. He obviously wants to finish the job. He asks Laura if she's sure that all he got was a broken leg. She decides to play into Wally's delusions and says, I'm afraid so. Wally observes that she sounds almost disappointed, and Laura pretends to admit she never liked the man. She knows she can confide in him and tells him that she was glad when he had the accident. And the thing is, Wally's not stupid, but he's also hopeful enough that this works for a little bit.
Yes.
It doesn't work completely. He eventually clues in, but there's that part of his delusion that activates here, and he just his whole face just
it actually worked. She likes me. She likes me.
You almost feel sorry for him if he wasn't so frickin' crazy. He happily tells her that he was afraid she would be mad for what he did. And she says, you mean the elevator in Mr. Steele's building? And she clearly wants him to say it out loud because obviously then that's a confession. He says he thought for sure they'd seen the last of him. He goes over to a bag and pulls out her gun, and she kind of visibly flinches because he's holding onto it, but he doesn't see because he's turned away from her. She says, better not use the gun. After all, it's hers. And that's logical. He agrees, but he's still holding it at her. And she starts to ask him to give it to her.
He's smart enough to know not to give her the gun.
Yeah. And yeah, so she starts to ask, and he says, no, I'll keep it. I like the feel of it. He walks towards her, caught up in his own excitement with the gun still pointed at her. She backs away as he talks, telling her that he thinks what she does is fascinating and that he wouldn't be one of those husbands who wouldn't let their wives work. He says he would help her with it. Laura's still only got her eyes on the gun. And she comments on what a generous offer that is. He tells her he wouldn't hog the spotlight like that show-off boss does. He continues telling her he knows how hard she works and that. And it's funny because this is all things that you would want somebody to say, like as a partner, but maybe not at gunpoint.
And maybe not when they're psycho.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the chances are they don't mean it the way you think they mean, the way it's intended to be taken.
Because I honestly I don't believe anything Wally says. I think that he initially would think that he was fine with that, but the more she goes out into the world, the more jealous or paranoid he would get.
She's getting too independent.
Exactly. So, like, I really think that would be. He says he knows how hard she works. He watches her every night in her loft, poring over papers into the wee small hours. Ha ha ha. And that's where she crosses her arms over herself protectively. She's physically, and her physical acting again in this is brilliant because, like, that's her sort of unnerved at the thought and kind of like protecting herself. He says that would be another reason they'd be good together. He can't sleep at night either. We hear sounds of sirens in the background that cause him to turn sharply, and she tries to mollify him, saying it's just fire engines, but doesn't sound very convincing. She attempts to distract him by telling him that he's an excellent photographer. His pictures are very good. She asks if he studied photography, and he tells her that's the only thing they would let him do. Well, he answered all those questions. Okay. And he tells her the only thing that kept him sane those 8 months was her. I don't think it worked.
No. Well, and also, in order for something to keep you sane, you had to be sane to begin with. True,
yeah. Laura is shocked. She says they didn't even know each other then. He tells her that he knew her. He saw her picture in the newspaper standing behind that peacock. It figures the one time she only gets noticed, like she gets noticed and it's by a complete Looney Tune. You know? She's always unnamed woman. It's only then, like, this guy notices her, but he's, you know. He moves closer again and says that was the first time he fell in love with her, adding that she had the most beautiful face he'd ever seen in his entire life. And she says, what a sweet compliment.
Well, he said also that it reminded him of her mother.
It reminds him of his mother. That's right. Yeah. For some reason, I didn't write that down, and I'm like, wait, I missed something. And she says it's a sweet compliment now, so she's going to get to meet her. Wally's face becomes distraught, and he recoils, saying that she can't because someone cut her up into little pieces and gift wrapped her and sent her to his Uncle Arnold. Yeah, I can't. The comment that I have on my notes here in italics, I can't say because it's got some swear words, but that revelation's got to be real. That's a real, yeah.
And there's this common, I don't know if it's a misconception or myth or if there's actual any truth to it, but they say that men want a woman like their mothers and women want a man like their fathers. And if that's the case, then if Laura wasn't concerned about what her life would be with Wally at this point,
she should be now.
At this point, she's definitely, so I remind you of your mother, and you chopped her up into little pieces and mailed her to your uncle.
Yeah.
It's like, no, thanks for playing. No.
I think there's some psychological basis behind that theory of like men want a woman like their mother or a man like their father, and I don't both ways. Like even like when they have a bad father, I don't think it's necessarily that you are consciously thinking, oh, I want a guy just like my dad, or some people might, but I think more on a subconscious level, if that is your first and to be like, it's if you've got two parents in the home, it's the first impression that you have of male and female role models in a like couple. And that's what they're modeling for you as either healthy or unhealthy relationships. And if it's when that's your first and only example, even as you get out in the world, that becomes a founding sort of core part of yourself. So if you have an emotionally unavailable father, as Laura did, then you tend to go for emotionally unavailable situations or because that's all you know. That's what you've seen. So I don't necessarily think it's I want someone just like this person. I think it's this is what I saw as a kid and this is what I've internalized, and some people can break those patterns and some people can't, but Wally's just straight up cuckoo.
Yes.
I would be worried too, because then he adds, see, he likes to get presents too, but not that one. He called the police. Laura gasps, and he adds, like, she's having trouble holding it together now because obviously this is just getting too horrific. He adds that when they released him, he found out where she lived and applied for the manager's position. Who's screening these applicants? Because the first guy with the robots and then this guy, like, somebody at that building is asleep at the wheel.
Yes.
Yikes. They don't care that there's a certified psychopath on the job. They're just like, yeah, cool, you'll fix the sink? Great.
Yeah.
Oy. He tells her it was so he could be close to her.
Yes.
He says, that was pretty smart, huh? And she winces and nods. And the sirens get louder. He goes to the window. He looks out and he sees the police. And this is where
he loses it.
Yeah, he turns on her. He angrily accuses her of lying. He says she doesn't love him. She lied. She's just like his mother. Yikes. She lifts up his camera, takes a photo. The flash distracts him, and he fires the gun, but she ducks and it misses her. But she doesn't waste any time.
Well,
she swings.
It's really she wasn't doing it to take a photo. She was doing it to flash the flash and blind him.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. But then she swings the camera at him and she just nails him.
Yes.
So good for you, Laura.
Try doing that with your phone.
True, yeah. She runs over and grabs the gun just as the police begin to pound on the door. And sarcastically, she says, great timing.
Yeah, why not? I mean, get your shots in while you can.
Yeah. Back at Steele's apartment, he's back in bed with Mildred, checking his temperature and blood pressure for some reason. Yeah, I've got that in question marks too. Like, I don't really know why.
He's got a broken leg. I don't think, unless there's some danger of infection, like because of the skin being severely breached during the fall. Broken leg and temperature don't go together. I'm sorry.
It's weird for her to be doing. I agree. And then Laura comes in with Wally's files and tells them that he was in a mental institution for 8 months after he hacked up his mother. I would ask why they let him out, but I can answer that. I've told you before about the man that cut off a person's head on a bus in Canada. I told you that story.
I don't recall it at the moment, but yeah, you may have.
So, I've got the article in front of me, but Will Baker, formerly known as Vince Wang, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, Lee, killed 22-year-old Tim McLean after hearing what he thought was the voice of God. He was deemed not criminally responsible and received mental health treatment. He had schizophrenia. A review board in Manitoba ordered his discharge without monitoring, saying he did not pose a significant threat. So this guy's out there. Basically, the attack took place in front of horrified passengers as the intercity Greyhound bus traveled past Portage la Prairie, about 70 kilometers west of Winnipeg.
What
Mr.
do you
Baker
have to do to be considered a credible threat after chopping somebody's head off? I mean,
Mr. Baker, a former church custodian and computer programmer who emigrated from China to Canada in 2001, repeatedly stabbed Mr. McLean, who was sitting next to him, before cutting off his head and removing internal organs. The attack began without warning. Alerted by screams from the victim, the driver stopped the bus and fled with the passengers as Mr. Baker continued his attack. In 2009, he was found not criminally responsible for the killing. He then spent 7 years in treatment in a secure wing of a psychiatric hospital. In an interview with the Schizophrenia Society in 2012, he said he heard what he believed was the voice of God. The voice told me that I was the third story of the Bible, that I was like the second coming of Jesus, and I was to save people from a space alien attack. He also said he was really sorry for what he did. Mr. Baker was allowed last year to live in his own apartment in Winnipeg, Manitoba, but was still subject to monitoring to ensure he took his medication. But his doctors told Manitoba's Criminal Code Review Board that he understood that he needed to take his medication and that he would continue with his treatment if released. And this is like, I'm sorry, but, and I will preface this by saying not everybody with schizophrenia is dangerous. But those who are, like, if the only thing that is stopping you from cutting somebody's head off is going off your meds, and you're just like, yeah, honest, I'll keep taking them, that to me is not enough to constitute no longer a danger to society.
Hello, are you a criminal? No, I'm not a criminal. Oh, okay, great, fantastic.
Well,
we just proved
it's not even like it's like I do believe that in the definition of our criminal code, intent being the important thing, that you can say not criminally responsible if you have a diagnosed psychiatric condition. That doesn't necessarily mean you should be out in the public, though.
No.
If the only thing stopping you from committing that crime again is going off your meds, that's not a risk, in my opinion, worth taking, especially if you've already done something that horrific. Like that was in 2012 he was released, so he's out there.
I had a roommate, and I replaced a guy. So 2 guys, sharing an apartment, splitting the costs. One guy moved out, I moved in, took his place. Well, the guy that had moved out came back 6-9 months later because he had moved out of town. He came back and he was visiting, and he dropped by the apartment, and we were talking, and things started to get a little strange. And he started talking about how the radio was giving him messages. Yikes. And all these weird things, and it was, the songs had messages specifically for him about things. And my roommate and I started realizing there's something wrong with this picture, and so we started to make the kinds of motions that you make when you're starting to like get ready for work, to leave.
Let's get out of it. Yeah, we gotta go.
And no, he couldn't let us leave, because if we left his presence, we would die.
Oh, jeez.
And it got a little bit crazy. And
That's
I don't remember
creepy.
what we did. I think we had a chance to talk, and I suggested, look, let's just all go. Well, let's tell him we're going to take him, somewhere. He wanted to go to the store or something. And I said, we'll make like we're going to go with him. And then when we get down to the bottom of the stairs, because it was a second floor apartment, I said, you go one way, I'll go the other way. He can't follow us both. And if we're lucky, he won't follow either one of us.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And then I think it was like later that day, maybe the next morning, we found out he had been arrested at the University of Portland, or Portland State University. I don't remember which one.
Yikes.
Because he'd caused a disturbance. And he was prescribed medication to help, just like this guy you're talking about, to keep him sane and sober. And I found out later that he had gotten a job at a McDonald's, and all I could think of was San Ysidro. And it's just like, are we going to have another one of those? Because I mean, again, like you say, it's the person's sanity, and I'll use that word, kind of inappropriately or inaccurately, but their sanity is dependent upon them taking those medications. And what happens when people start taking medications and they start feeling good?
And they think they don't need them anymore.
I don't need to keep taking my medications.
Exactly.
Because I'm feeling fine. I've licked it.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's not a good thing. No.
So that's, I think, what happened here with Wally. They said, oh yeah, he's cured. We'll just let him out.
And he knew all the right answers too.
Yeah. He could play the game, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mildred comments that they sure had their share of sickos this trip, and Laura adds that the scary thing is they came right to their doorstep. Steele Riley comments that there's nothing better than bringing one's work home. Mildred tells them that
they don't do a very good job of keeping their private life private. And of course, with Mildred, anybody asks for their home phone number, their address, yeah, sure, not a problem. Yes. I mean, it's a wonder they haven't had more problems than they have.
No kidding. Mildred. Well, to be fair, it's Wally was a different situation, but yeah. Mildred tells him that he has to stay in bed one more day, and she's going to make sure he doesn't cheat. Again, why? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you got a cast on it. You can be perfectly fine mobile. I mean,
in your wheelchair or whatever, your crutches. Yes. Yeah, like as long as you're using your mobile aids, you should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Mildred leaves, and Laura hands him the file. As he peruses it, he tells her that they've been so busy defining their personal relationship that they have begun to take their professional one for granted. She sits down next to him on the bed and he says, it's not until something like this comes along that forces one to reevaluate. Laura says, what are we reevaluating? And this is, I know this tag is a thorn in a lot of Steele Watchers' sides. It's one that particularly bothers me as well because it feels like it comes out of left field, especially for Steele. He asks, so I'll preface this by saying the first part are fair questions until the second part. So the first part says he asks her if she intends to pursue this line of work for the rest of her life. She thinks about it for a second and admits she hadn't given it much thought. And he says, suppose that she had children, would you intend to continue working? Now, I don't see an issue with him asking that question because if it shows that he's thinking about a future together, and the way he words it here doesn't necessarily sound judgmental. He's just asking her. What would you do? What would you want to do? Would you intend to?
The thing is, it's not a question about, well, you're my wife. What do you think you're going to have a job? It's even though that's how it's written is just, do you intend to continue working with no parameters? It's clear that the context that he's intending, whether it comes across to her this way or not, he's intending the context to be, would you continue working in this profession?
The first part. The second part, he just shits the bed. Pardon my language. He craps the bed. Because, again, these are fair questions. If you are planning a life together with somebody and you're literally thinking about the future, this would be something that you would want to know about the person. Like, is this what you would want to do? Would you want to keep working if we had kids? If, that shows that marriage is on his mind. Children are on his mind. But then he says, or would you feed the little tykes breakfast in the morning and rush off to a nice juicy murder? That has judgment in it. Like that line there is judgy.
I can see how it could be taken that way, but I think what he's trying to do is make a point that, especially when he follows up with the next question, would you call them at school and apologize because you couldn't pick them up because you were being held hostage? What he's talking about here is there is a fundamental clash between the things that are happening to us in this profession and what one might call a normal home life and a normal parent-child relationship. And it's about, at what point do you draw the line and say, this profession isn't good for my family? Is my job going to be my priority, or is my family going to be my priority when those two things come into conflict?
Okay,
it's not intended to be judgmental. I'm going
to argue two things here.
Of course,
number one. No, but seriously, think about it for a second. Number one, is he offering to stay home with the kids? Because it doesn't sound like it. Nobody ever. It's always, are you going to stay home? He's not saying, is one of us going to stay home? He's saying, are you going to stay home? Are you going to continue working? That implies that in his mind, she's the one that has to make that choice. He can go on working all he pleases, but she's the one that has to make that sacrifice if one of them does. the other thing is that police officers, detectives that get married to each other, they do these things all the time and find a balance. It's possible. Other people have jobs just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, and they find a balance. So he's not asking, how are we going to balance our work life and home life? He's not saying it that way. He's not saying, is one of us going to take time off? Are we going to maybe have, say, 1 month where one of us works and the other stays home and switch? Because they can do that. She owns the business. It's not like someone else is telling them when their shifts have to be. He literally just says to her, do you plan to continue working? Are you going to be rushing off to a nice juicy murder? Are you going to apologize that you can't pick your, it's that mother guilt that he's heaping on her, that same guilt that she and Frances talked about. Because if you think about it, when you hear about you get called out because you got to go pick up your son or your kid, how often does that happen for men? It's usually the mother that has to go and pick up their kid if the kid is sick or whatever. It's just that assumption that she's the one that has to make that decision, not him.
I see what you're saying, but I don't necessarily think he's presuming that he hasn't had to make, or he isn't going to have to make that same decision. I think he's just simply phrasing it badly. And maybe in his mind, he doesn't even continue with the agency. They hand it over to Mildred or get Murphy back here. I don't think he's excluding himself from this decision. I think he's just wording it badly.
Oh, it's worded very badly, because the way it's worded sounds like he's freaking Ward Cleaver here. And I don't, it bothers me because it feels very out of character. I don't disagree that these are conversations that should be had. I think
it sounds out of character because this is the first time he's ever gotten this close to the subject of a long-term future. And
but
he is not a person who has a background in handling or in seeing this sort of thing up close and personal and directly. And he's probably approaching it the only way he knows how, primarily based on movies. But he's approaching it badly only because he doesn't have a good background on how to approach it. But he's looking long-term future, and that's why it seems weird and out of context, and why even he's not doing a good job at presenting it.
He's doing it terrible. I don't know. It just feels like if he knows Laura well enough, he should know that she probably is going to keep working. I don't think Laura would stop working. I think it's reasonable to talk about how you would balance that, and to say that, okay, one of us drops their son or daughter off in the morning and doesn't come in until the afternoon, or one of them has to leave early, or that they trade off on who picks the kid up from school if there's a sickness, or if there's a particularly dangerous, The other thing here, though, is that he does not include himself in this, and you're gonna misinterpret what I'm going to say here. He's not including himself in this conversation because he's not presuming necessarily that he's talking about a future with him, Laura, and children. He's talking about a future of Laura and somebody maybe with children, but not necessarily him. He's just putting it out there in general sense. If you got married, if you had kids, regardless of who it is, whether it's me, somebody else, whatnot, how are you going to handle these situations? And so I think that's the reason why he's not necessarily including himself in these questions, is because he might be thinking that would be presumptuous of me at this point, but this is something that she needs to consider, especially if I do want to be part of a long-term relationship with her, and this is to occur. She at least needs to have settled somewhat in her mind how she's going to handle these types of situations. But he wouldn't be asked that. That's not something that would ever be asked of him.
Why?
Well, I mean,
why wouldn't it be?
Because men aren't usually asked, what are you going to do when you have kids? Are you, they're not usually asked, are you going to keep working, or are you going to stay home with the kids? That's not a question that's generally asked of men, at least not in the 80s, even now. What Scott and I did was relatively, unique in the sense that in Canada, we have federally covered family leave that you can take for either a year or a year and a half if you want to stretch it out. You get paid up to 50% of your salary or up to a certain amount, depending on how much you make from the government. It comes out of your EI, basically the unemployment insurance that you pay into. And if you take 12 months, you get 55%. Or if you take 18 months, it's only 33%. But you can split it. It's not like there's 17 weeks that are for the birthing parent only and 5 weeks that are for the other parent only. And the rest of it you can split however the heck you like. So with Scott and I took 7 months and he took 5. And people were kind of shocked by that because like they were.
If I had that as an option when we had our kids, I'd have done it.
But that's like most people, it's just automatically assumed that the mother does it. And I'm not saying like you think that way. I'm just saying like societally thinks that's how people think usually. And so when I mentioned that, like we did it that way because I wanted to go back to work at the beginning of September. I took February to like, I didn't want to go back midway through a semester, and I wanted him to be able to, bond and bottle feed and do all the baby stuff. So,
well, historically and biologically, there's some basis for that presumption simply because for a long time
breastfeeding, nursing,
exactly. I mean, they didn't have bottles, and even today there are people who, for whatever reason, choose not to bottle feed.
Yeah, well, I mean,
so in those types of a situation, it is, if somebody's going to work and somebody's not going to work in that family relationship, it's more likely going to be the man working, the woman not working, simply from the point of practicality.
Well, true. But I'm like, he's not asking the question of like, would you take a year off? He's saying, would you stop working entirely? And it just the way he frames it, like at first it sounds fine. Like I said, the first part of it sounds fine. Do you intend to continue working? That's a fair question. But then the rushing off to a nice juicy murder and then like apologizing that you can't pick them up from school because you're being held hostage is really passive aggressive and not, it comes off very judgmental, like a bad parent.
Comes off. Again, I don't think he's intending it to come off that way. I think he's just doing a very poor job because of his lack of background of saying, look, this is a legitimate question that needs to be settled in your mind at some point. How are you going to balance this? Where are you going to draw the line, and which is going to become your priority? Are you going to sacrifice the job in order to, and not sacrifice working, sacrifice this job in order to make the kids your priority, or are you going to give up the kids as the priority in order to continue doing this job?
This is the thing, though. It's her agency. She can make changes to how she does the job, and that like she's the boss, right? But so it's not really like
she can, but she won't, because
he doesn't know that.
To Laura, it's about I'm in charge. I run things. Why would I hand that off to somebody else?
No,
unless
I don't,
absolutely have to. I mean, I don't
think that would be the case. I think if they had kids together,
I think we've seen plenty of evidence that Laura does not like to give up control to anybody for any reason, unless she's absolutely forced to. And I think that's really the heart of what he's trying to say here, is that something's going to have to give. If you have kids at some point in the future and you intend to keep working on this kind of job, how are you going to draw that line? Where are you going to split it? What are you going to make the priority? What are you willing to give up?
Here's the thing, though. Unless he is assuming he's the partner in this, that's none of his business. Right? Like, unless he is assuming that he's the other half in this equation, right? So if we assume that he is putting himself in that situation and that he's assuming that this is a future that they are going to discuss, then
yes and no. Because if they've got if they are, even if they never wind up together, even if he doesn't see them as likely to be a couple in the long-term future, they have a close personal relationship. And these are the kinds of things that people who have close personal relationships talk about from time to time. I mean, they don't make it a normal course of conversation, but these kinds of things come up. And they come up as circumstances, lead them down the road to that conversation. And so I don't think it's necessarily out of line for him to ask this, even if he doesn't think or know that he would be the one in the future. He's probably hoping, and he's probably maybe trying to plant a seed here, and maybe trying to admit something that he doesn't want to come right out and say. And so in his mind, I see this happening, and so we need to talk about this, but I don't want to come right out and say, this is my plan for us for the future. But I mean, I don't see a problem with it.
I think they work as partners enough to the point where if this were something that happened between them, that they would balance it out, that they would either reduce hours in certain ways, or that I don't think she would have an issue with saying, like, okay, I'm going to do the morning drive this week, and you'll go into the office and then we'll switch off. Like, I think that would be something that they would work out. I don't think she would stop working. I would hope he wouldn't expect her to, because that would be expecting her to give up the thing that she's worked for her entire life. And, like that's a bit of an ask, especially when stuff like that you can balance. It's not either or. I think that's the problem, is that it's always talked about as if it's either or. You have to do one or you have to do the other. You're right. Sacrifices do have to be made, but you can make them and still.
But see, I don't think the question is this either or? I don't think he's intending to present it as that.
It definitely comes off that way.
I'll admit it kind of comes off that way. But like I said, it's because he doesn't have any experience in this area, and he doesn't have any good role models to learn from, or to have learned from. And so he's doing a really, really bad job of it. But I don't think he's seeing it as an either or. The bigger problem I have is when Laura immediately jumps to the unwarranted conclusion that he's saying that a woman's place is in the home. He never said anything about quitting working. He never said anything about, well, you're the little woman and you go take care of the food and clean the house and go shopping with the kids and I make the money. No, he was simply asking a practical and reasonable question about this particular line of work and how it would work while raising kids and how to do that balance.
Yeah,
and she took it to this wild, how dare you?
I would take it the exact same way. Not the first half, the second half, when he says, rushing off to a nice juicy murder and then calling to apologize that you can't pick them up because you're being held hostage. Especially that last line, because that last line implies that your job is dangerous and that your job will endanger yourself or your child, and it's, if you choose to continue doing it, you're irresponsible. That's the implication of that statement. And so if I were Laura, I would take it exactly the same way. That he's implying,
I think that's somebody inferring something from a statement, not the
but
person.
It's a statement that, like, you could make that statement without saying it like that. He could say, do you intend...
He doesn't have any experience in this. He doesn't have any role models to guide him. He's doing the best he can with no tools at his disposal.
Sure, but she's not a mind reader as well, right? So when you make a statement like that definitely sounds like a judgment, you're going to take it as a judgment. I would take it as a judgment. If he had simply said, do you intend to continue working if you have kids, and left it there, and then Laura responded with, are you saying a woman's place is in the home? I would agree with you that that's a knee-jerk reaction to that statement. But he goes on to make the other two statements that are crappy. And again, you put those together, it's and then you add in what happened with Suburban Steele, with him not helping out and saying, oh, we don't want to confuse the role models. Like, there's clearly a pattern that's being established here. And I put a pin in that, and I'll put a pin in this, because season 5, I'm going to have some thoughts. But this is it feels out of left field. This tag feels out of left field, and I don't like it. And I know that I'm not alone, okay? Because I'm going to get backed up on this one here. But because she says, are you saying a woman's place is in the home? And then he grabs her and pulls her close and then makes the sexual innuendo. I was thinking of a more specific area, which, gross. Normally, I'm all on board. I think he's, cheeky and funny and charming. This time around, though, after everything she's been through with Wally and like the invasiveness of what Wally did and like everything else, this is coming off way more creepy than it should.
Yeah, probably not a best.
And I don't disagree with you that he's handling it badly, probably because he doesn't have any experience to draw from. But that Laura's reaction, I think, is fair considering what he says. So
okay.
Anyway, and the thing is, I love this episode. Which I think is why the tag bothers me so much, because the rest of the episode, like, he's never implied anywhere in the series that he doesn't trust her or that he doesn't believe she can take care of herself. He backs her up with Lieutenant Benjamin. They have each other's backs. They're partners. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe this was operating out of fear. Maybe that's where he's coming from. This was a place of fear where he saw somebody get too close to her. He couldn't get to her. He couldn't help her. And he's thinking, if they can just walk into our homes, if they can get in this close, what? It could be that too.
Yeah, it could be.
But yeah, it's not a great look at the end. Anyway, any other thoughts?
No.
Okay. On the website, we've www.SteeleWatching.com. We've got show notes, links to Amazon US and Amazon Canada, as well as like merch you can purchase or buy us a coffee or support us in other, any way you want, because we love you. Thank you. And other social media resources.
Such as the links to follow the podcast. If you're listening to this, you're probably already following, but maybe for some friends who haven't found us yet, be sure and share us with them. Yes. You can also find links to the official Steele Watching Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages, as well as links to the Steele Watchers fan group, which is an unofficial group as far as it's not official with us, but it's an official Steele fans group. So yeah, it's there.
And the next episode will be Steele Blue Yonder. So
that's
join
a
us
good
for that
one. I'll have some information on that.
I bet you will. All right.
Well, that's it. I guess.
Thanks
Bye-bye,
for listening.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. Eric and Sara here. Just a quick announcement to let you know that, yes, we do appreciate everyone who listens, participates, and supports the podcast in whatever way you do. But we wanted to give an extra thank you to those who are so graciously giving to be monthly financial supporters.
We are making live streams of our recording sessions available to anyone who is a monthly financial supporter. So not only can you watch us live as we record our podcast episodes, you will be getting access to the raw, behind-the-scenes, unedited version of episodes before they get officially released.
And Sara, does that include our mistakes and screw-ups and our humiliating?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
every
it does.
Single one of them.
Every single one of them, yes. So again, this is just an extra thank you to those who are going above and beyond. But whether you choose to become a monthly financial supporter or not, we still love you. We want to say we thank you for your support, your encouragement, and your feedback.
If you want to become a monthly financial supporter, please visit our website at www.SteeleWatching.com to sign up.